Good afternoon, 365 Sports on this Thursday afternoon. Hope you've had a really good day. We have a lot to get to today. A couple of really good guests, including Matt Zenitz, who does as good as anybody, as well as anybody, when it comes to coaching changes, transfer portal, and all of that. He'll join us today at 4. And then John Wilner on the Pac-12 releasing their schedule and a little bit of that tonight at 5 o'clock. So Craig Smoak to my right with his beautiful, almost, it's actually a darker blue than it looks like on the set. Paul with blue. Yes. And then I'm wearing the black and white. Good afternoon. This is 365 Sports. So let's get straight to it. This came down yesterday evening and not good at all. BYU receiver Parker Kingston, felony rape charges. And this is an investigation that goes back to February, over a year, about a year ago. And he now facing felony rape charges in BYU with that right square between the eyes.
Yeah, and this likely means that we've seen the last of him at BYU because, like we've seen in the past with Jake Retzloff, whose case was dismissed, if his argument is it was consensual, that is against the BYU honor code, and he will not play there anymore. This is it's upsetting and tragic every time we hear reports like this. And this has been going on because of a case in southern Utah for a year now. But it's a huge loss for BYU as they move forward. But the more important thing is this needs to be adjudicated by the courts and hopefully justice is served.
Well, hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, Chad? Hope you're all doing well today. Certainly a segment or a lot of BYU fans aren't after the news last night on Parker Kingston. And, it's kind of deja vu to the Jake Retzloff situation, although the Jake Retzloff situation was much later in the year, closer to the season. This obviously happening in the early part of the year prior to spring ball and everything, so not quite as much of a shock from a timing perspective, but still a shock for everybody out there, which I don't know, maybe the majority of people out there that didn't know that this was even something that was going on behind the scenes. And I think that's one of the questions you have is who knew what and when and how and all of that, because, well, if BYU knew there was an investigation going on and he's planning an entire season, which is what he would have done, well, I know that at certain other schools, that would be something that would get people quite up in arms. And I know that there's been instances that are similar where you argue, well, we're letting the process play out and things of that nature, but I think that's part of the conversation is if this has been going on that long, he just played an entire season with a rape charge potentially hanging over his head. So that needs to be clarified a little bit on why that was handled the way that it was. And then, obviously, there's the whole judicial system that needs to play itself out. Parker Kingston, like anybody else, is innocent until proven guilty. There's more details that are coming out on the exact altercation or situation that occurred, and a young woman saying that she I guess in the affidavit, had been chatting with Parker Kingston, and they got together late one night or in the early morning hours, and she says that she made it abundantly clear as day that she did not want to have sex, but there they were, and they were fooling around, and then things went past the stop sign, I guess you could say, and that's where the claim comes from, was that they were hanging out early morning hours, fooled around, and then it went farther than she wanted it to. So that's what she is claiming. Parker Kingston is claiming his innocence, and so we'll let the legal system play itself out. And as a non-lawyer, I won't pretend to know everything about everything, but when you've got a guy on a felony charge and no bail and being thrown right into jail, I don't know if that means they've got really good evidence. I know that's not always how it's done, so that would lead me to believe, and again, I'm a fool, so maybe I'm just completely off base here, but that would lead me to believe that they got to feel pretty good about what they've got. But it also says, and it said in an article I read earlier, that they believed he was a flight risk. So that's part of having the no bail, was you don't want him to be able to leave or to be able to do whatever it is you're afraid he might do. I don't know. But, the no bail thing was very interesting, and this is the second major incident like this, as I mentioned, with Retzloff. So just very unfortunate for the young lady involved, and who it's unfortunate for whoever's telling the truth in this situation. Let me put it that way, because Maybe Parker Kingston is telling the truth. We have no way of knowing. Only those two really know. And so, we'll have to see what the court says, but you would think that this probably is a situation that boots him off of the football team based on the honor code. Now, I'm trying to think. I don't know their exact rules, so I'm not sure if this is like automatically he's out of there. But if they had sex, then yes, I believe you're automatically out of there. So,
or at least suspended.
Suspended while they go over the details and figure everything out. So, yeah, I mean, if you were to put the odds on Parker Kingston playing football at BYU next year, they went from 100 to, at best, like 50 overnight. And I know that's not the main concern for some of the people involved. It's a brutal story to have to talk about for any school. And you just hate to see violence and things of this nature, but that's part of the deal sometimes. And so here we are talking about it today, and the courts will decide in the end of what all is done about this.
This was a year ago on the 23rd of this month when the alleged assault occurred, the sexual assault occurred, February 23rd. Here's my question is, obviously there was an investigation, and they, as you said, Craig, they now have enough what they feel like the evidence to charge him and detain him. What did BYU know? How much did they know? And should he have played football during 2025?
Well, if he's being investigated and there's no charges, it's going to be really hard for them to not get themselves in a legal situation if they suspended him. And I do know that from here at the Sam Ukawachu situation that happened. He was actually, had pending charges with the grand jury, so Baylor could have suspended him knowing that he had been charged by a grand jury. It's just a sealed indictment. Parker Kingston had not been indicted or anything yet. That just came yesterday. So I think just legally it would have been hard for them to do anything about it.
BYU became aware today of the arrest of Parker Kingston, according to a statement from the athletic department. He had a really good year. He's a good player, 66 catches, 924 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And it's got to rock the campus like the Retzloff story did back in the spring of a year ago. So there we are with Parker Kingston, and we'll see how that develops, what else comes from that. But at the same time, you're going through the evening, you're kind of like looking for tomorrow, and then pop, it happens. And so there we are with the story about the BYU wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go too far down the line on what it means for BYU because that's the least of their concerns right now. I mean, Parker Kingston's got to worry about his freedom, and the young lady's got to worry about moving on potentially from something that was allegedly a pretty horrific situation. So, again, I just want whatever's true to come out in the wash on the other side. If it's a true allegation, then throw his ass in jail and leave him there. If it's not, then I hope there's some repercussions the other way and he gets his name cleared. But, I think the no bail thing really stood out to me, the year-long investigation. And it's really weird, man. Whenever you get sexual assault cases, like the people that come and try to bend their minds around to fit their narrative, it's like, well, why did it take a year? Well, maybe because they were gathering all of the evidence. Well, why did, I just find all that so gross. So I choose to let the system play itself out before I start jumping to assumptions that she's making this up or that he did it or not. I have no earthly idea, and none of us really do. So, again, let that play out. But as far as, we are a sports show, so just very briefly on the impact. I mean, they lost Jake Retzloff last year, who was their starting quarterback and a really good player, and they ended up just A-OK on the other side of it. I think that speaks to the program that Kalani Sitake has built, and I think they would probably be similar in this regard of it will hurt, especially at least early on until you have a guy who would maybe fill that role because you also just lost Chase Roberts, who was a major factor for you. So, Parker Kingston was the guy coming back along with L.J. Martin and obviously Bear Bachmeier, among others, that made you feel good about that. So with him possibly not in the equation, then that's a pretty significant loss. But they lost their starting quarterback right before the season started, and we're okay. I know for some football is the last thing on your mind, but we are sports social, so I'm at least going to touch on the fact that if he's not there next year, then that's a pretty significant loss from an actual proven number standpoint. But they're a resilient bunch, and would not surprise me in the slightest if some dude just emerged and helped fill the void, or a couple guys or whatever. But they're still going to be a good team regardless. And again, you just hope everybody gets what's just due in this situation.
And just speaking from experience of covering these kind of things in the past, like I did for months back in 2016. If people want to know why this takes a year is actually pretty quick as these things go. Sometimes it can drag out for a very long time. In fact, the case that I'd mentioned earlier, Sammy Kawachi, was 2.5 years before it got to trial and all of that. So a year is pretty quick. And there are warehouses full of untested rape kits and all these things. It takes a long time. The system's not set up to handle all the things that come in. So if people ask that question, just know that a year, not actually slow.
Yeah.
And Jake was not, I don't know if Retzloff was ever charged. He
withdrew from
case.
school.
Yeah.
And then he left. And so that was a situation where, I think they, how would you describe it? They came to like, I forget the proper term of the way to properly describe it. But Retzloff, they eventually, I think they came to an agreement of some sort, and then he withdrew from school, and then he went back to, he went to Tulane ultimately, and finished out his career there. So with this, Parker Kingston will appear in court tomorrow, and we'll learn some more, I guess, about just kind of what's going on then. And BYU's already said that they cannot say any more than they already have because it's an ongoing situation. So, I don't know when it comes to honor code and specifically the violation that may or may not have occurred here. But obviously that's really not your main concern right now. If you're Parker Kingston, can I play football still? It's like, you got to stay out of jail, pal. And so you got to defend yourself against these allegations, and we'll see how all that goes.
And so weird. And the timing, there was a picture of Parker Kingston at a basketball game with his girlfriend, and they were engaged. They're engaged, and then you see this just a few days later. So there's a lot to tie up, and of course there is the possibility, whatever, with the victim, of course, that you think about that person as well.
Yeah, and to get the Retzloff part clear, so there was the civil lawsuit against Retzloff, the charge of, the accusation, I should say, of rape, and that was eventually dismissed. Parties jointly agreed to dismiss with prejudice, ending the case, which was filed last month. This was from last June, so much different time period, February versus June. That's the big difference here. And then once they did that, where they had the charge dismissed and the parties had jointly agreed to whatever the terms of that were, that's when he left and went off to New Orleans. So don't know how this one will work out, but it is just very odd that you've had a couple of these situations pop up over the last year for BYU. So they're not far from having somebody go, how about that culture over there? And I know we love Kalani Sitake and all of that, and their situation is a little bit more unique as far as the honor code goes. But, that's something that it's 2 times as too many in the last year for sure. So they got to hopefully get that all squared away and not have any stories like this anytime soon, because in this short amount of time, it's just, it's not good.
Arizona State is giving Kenny Dillingham a bump. He'll get $6.4 million on his contract this year, a slight increase of what is being reported by Chris Karpman of Sun Devil's source of $400,000. However, he'll be the highest paid state employee in Arizona history. Football staffing pool will increase to $2.2 million for all the salaries there. And there are other perks along the way that are very reachable based on Arizona State and what they expect from him. And then this little nugget. They agreed to pay the cost of in-state tuition for Dillingham's children to attend ASU for undergraduate and graduate degree programs, an amended contract. That's a long way away from that. That's like 15 years, according to what he put on his Twitter feed. But that also is attached to his contract at ASU.
I don't know if he'll stay there that long, but I do believe him when he says he doesn't ever want to leave there. I truly do. I don't think he wants to leave there. I think he wants to be there forever. How realistic that is depending on the coaching profession. And It's very strange, but I do believe he wants to be there, and I think that Arizona State should do everything they can to keep him for as long as they can, because I think he's a brilliant coach, and I think he's the best quarterback developer in the country, and I fully expect to see Cutter Boley have probably 2 years of fantastic football before he goes to the NFL draft.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best. I don't know. We could have a conversation on that one day of him and various others who I guess would be considered in that. But he's definitely a guy you have to have an argument for the argument to be valid. Like, you can't say, let's talk about these guys and not include like Lane Kiffin, or talk about these guys and not include Kenny Dillingham. It's like, yeah, you've got to have certain guys. Lincoln Riley. I mean, whether you like him or not, you have to be in the quarterback guru conversation. So, yeah, he's definitely in that mix of names among others, and he's done a tremendous job, as we've pointed out time and time again. But the thing that's, I guess, holding them down or holding them back, and he's been very public about it, is the money factor. So good to see ASU's addressing that in some capacity. I mean, I don't think it'll prevent him from turning around and still wanting to find some Phoenix businessman that will plop down $3 million a year for NIL, but I mean, hell, Joey McGuire's got like tens of millions, and he's still probably asking for more. Hell, I know. I see Texas Tech tweets all the time, still asking for, be a part of the team with the Red Raider Club, kind of thing. So there's never enough money. But ASU, I do think, compared to those they're competing with, may have been a little lower behind, especially if you're trying to compare to a Tech or to a BYU. So there's been room for them to grow. Sounds like they're getting there, and I don't know if it'll be enough to quench his thirst entirely and to feel like they're on the same level as some others, but it's better than not having a story like this where you're not addressing the assistant coaching pool or NIL or whatever. So they're doing their best, it sounds like, and it does feel like they really just need some random, like, tire shop owner with chains around the whole Arizona area just be like, all right, I'm stepping up to the plate now. I'm going to cut you this fat check. Like, that's the one thing they seem to be missing at this point. So maybe that'll arrive at some stage.
There was that post-practice in spring. No, it was during bowl game preparation, wasn't it, where he said, hey, we need you. He basically came out and said, we need
He's
guys.
More or less begged a few times. Like,
has.
I mean, I'll call it what it is. I mean, he has more or less like pandered to the alumni and said, like, please give us some money. Please help us stay competitive. And he hasn't said it maybe in those exact words, but those aren't far off from basically what he said, and it's happened multiple times. So, yeah, I mean, he's very much on record. He hasn't hidden from that before, after contract extensions. And
good for him.
And look, man, like I just said, like, Joey McGuire's got more money than just about anybody, and they're still out there every day tweeting out, join the Matador Club. And so for everybody, it's a race to get as much as you possibly can to make yourself as best as you can, and that race never ends. It never, ever ends, whether you're Ohio State or you're Arizona State. Everybody out there is still looking for more and more and more money, but I think especially Arizona State, not being near the top to start off with, got a lot better, a lot quicker than they probably thought they would outside of maybe Kenny Dillingham. And so immediately you thrust into the race at the head of it, and you're looking around, you're like, well, not all things are equal here. So if we want to stay here and stay at the front of the pack, then, yeah, we need more support to keep up. And that's basically the messaging from him the last couple of years.
Carter Boley, go ahead.
I also think that part of that is, like, he's also trying to recultivate a fan culture there.
Yeah, he's trying to get a Matador Club.
That doesn't exist in the same. Like, Texas Tech, as far as football goes, cannot really brag about years and years of success. But what they can brag about is the fact that they're very passionate about it, it's ingrained in the culture of the school. And there are some places that no matter how successful you've been, Iowa State's another great example of this. Nebraska is a great example of this, that through thick and thin, people are invested in athletics. And so if you made them invested in athletics when they were students or when they're young fans and all that, and they've completely bought in, when they are big, successful oil tycoons and they have this money to give.
Or an entire church.
Yeah, exactly. Then they have the means to do it, and they do. What Arizona State lacks, and it's because of a lackluster sports leadership for a quarter century, is that maybe passionate fan base that he's trying to start.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like he's going to have to maybe go at the micro level until he finds, Sun Devil Tire Corp that is like,
It's not going to be Sun Devil Tire Corp, but
whatever,
I get what it might be Michelin.
But like the guy who got a Jake Plummer tattoo when he was 19,
exactly.
like that's the guy he needs. That now is super wealthy.
Runs an investment firm.
Yeah, super wealthy and all that. Those are the people he needs to find. But because of a quarter century of, we have sports here at Arizona State, as opposed to, hey, we're Arizona State and we're going to really commit to this, it's probably going to take a minute.
They almost got into that cool, okay, is the game going on Southern California type mentality. Because Pac-12, et cetera, they're the southern tip of that conference where they are located.
There are certain places in the country that will never have to worry about the passion of their fan base. It's just ingrained in the culture of the school. And then there are others that are always going to have to constantly worry about it because it's ingrained in the culture of the school. And then there's a group in the middle who knows that if they're good, they'll be fine. And if they're bad, that's how it is. But some schools are, no matter if they're good, people still have a level that it's kind of unattainable for what they feel they're owed as fans.
Boley, by the way, the young man from Kentucky, after a couple of years, had a good year last year, but he throws too many picks, 15 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. That's something Kenny Dillingham will try to tighten up. Then Texas Tech finalizing a deal. Now listen to this trend here, one way to the other, NFL to college, college to the NFL. Finalizing a deal with Jaquez Smith to be their their outside linebackers coach. He's been with the Atlanta Falcons. He also had time at Texas as a coach, an assistant coach for the edge rushers on the defensive end. And while that's happening, the Kansas City Chiefs taking DeMarco Murray, hell of a player in high school, at Bishop Gorman in Nevada, college in the NFL too. He's been at Oklahoma. He joins the staff with the Kansas City Chiefs. And on top of that, the Chiefs also hired Terry Bratton, who's been the defensive line coach for a year at Nebraska. And that was a position they weren't very good at. But we're seeing a lot of the crossover with NFL to college and college to the NFL.
Yeah, and I don't think there's really anything to that. I mean, it's just there's only so many places to go. Like if you're in college, you're going to go to the NFL, you're going to stay in college. And if you're in the NFL, you're going to stay in the NFL, you're going to go to college. And there's not really any more options other than that. So I don't think it's anything to attach a trend label to right now. But we did have a conversation a couple of years ago about the exodus of whether there would be a bunch of college coaches going to the pros because they didn't want to put up with the insanity of the early days of NIL and just all that entailed, the transfer portal. And that hasn't become a trend like you feared that it might. But I think there has been maybe more of a trend of some of the lower head coaches now going to be coordinators at bigger schools just to have less of a headache.
The guy in Montana's recently, right?
Yeah, so there's examples like that. But as far as Smith and Texas Tech, I mean, Texas has had their fair share of great edges and defensive ends and whatnot. So I like that connection there. And obviously they've always had a tremendous ability to recruit the elite types at positions like that. So I think that's what you're looking at with him. The NFL experience can't hurt as well. I won't speak too much to whatever else Joey McGuire was looking for as far as X's and O's and things. But, I mean, the resume looks great. Obviously big shoes to fill because of the expectations from last year. And we'll see, I guess, just kind of how this goes. But Tech is in a position where they can hire the top of the line everywhere. So this is where Joey McGuire's decisions are going to make them sink or swim. Like, here's the budget, and is there a budget? I don't know. Here's the debit card, and go get what you need to get, basically. And so ultimately, like, say whatever you want to about any aspect of this, but ultimately it's going to come down to could Joey McGuire out-decide and out-coach other coaches. Like, you're trying to out-talent people right now, and you've done that to some degree. And you did that, I think, very clearly in Big 12 play last year. You've out-coached some teams depending on what game you're looking at. But I think when you then get to, like, well, why did Indiana take off? Well, talent was part of it, but it was also, yes, the culture too. Okay, I feel like they have that, but you got to coach it as well. So this seems like a good addition that maybe helps them in that direction as far as just the finishing touches of you've got the players, you've got the facilities, you've got the backing, you've got the fandom, you've got, like, the only thing you don't have now is just going and doing it. So we'll see if Smith can't, take them another step towards that, but I do like the background and the experience there. And then on DeMarco Murray, I think there are a lot of Oklahoma fans that are actually celebrating this move, quite honestly. Love that he's a Sooner that came back to coach there, and that he is a guy who's obviously had an excellent career and was able to recruit really well for you. But as far as the results on the field, the running back position for the last couple of years has been basically non-existent for them. So I think there is definitely an element of the OU fandom that's like, okay, cool. Like, we could use a change there. Like, thanks for the memories, and we'll see you back at the veteran tailgates or the Hall of Fame ceremonies and everything. But not a bad idea to shake things up in that running back room.
The Jaden Knott thing, still to me, and I'm not saying it's on DeMarco Murray. That might have just been a guy that didn't want to play football, or he just never could get in because they damn sure didn't have a great running game. They had pretty good players, but not. So that was weird. But DeMarco Murray headed back where he played. He's now in the NFL with Andy Reid. Andy Reid calls me, I think I'm going.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on the trend, Smokey, with used to be, college coaches when they got that shot to go to the NFL would just run and never come back because it is such a great opportunity. I think now part of it is that the money is a lot better in college. So if you're an NFL tight end,
the money's better in college to the point the players are trying to stay in college rather than go to the NFL.
Exactly. So,
I mean, like,
yeah. So if you're an NFL tight end coach and you lose your job and you don't really have, somewhere to land in the league for a year or two until you kind of get back in the flow. Well, it's not so bad to go to college now and make about the same kind of money. Now you may have to recruit, which might be a little bit more, but now that's even changing where they might send you out to recruit about a third of the time based on what you had to do maybe when you were a college tight end coach the first time. So it's not that much worse of a gig because a lot of times guys will be like, well, I'm not going back. The money's too good here. I'll just sit out a year or I'll do that. But now you can go back and forth. Plus, the systems are different. The systems are more melded now because a lot of times if you were a college defensive coordinator and you went up to be a linebacker coach in the NFL, you're learning all these new things that you kind of take some of what you had with you, but you maybe don't, especially on offense now because of, the NFL has finally opened themselves up to, if a play works, we're going to run it. We don't care where it comes from, as opposed to this is what we do in the NFL. We do this, this, and this. There's no way we can pull this off. There's a whole lot more different NFL. You can go to college for a couple years and go, you know what, I'm going to learn a new thing, and I'm going to come back with a vengeance and unleash this in the league when I get that opportunity.
When I saw this story, I was like, this is pretty cool. That SMU hosting Oklahoma and LSU at AT&T Stadium in non-conference games in 27 and also in 29. I like that. And then I saw a lot of blowback, people not happy about it. I love it. Well, the reason was they want games on campus. Oklahoma and LSU, with all due respect, there's been big boy schools who have played at SMU, and there still will be. But this is something that AT&T Stadium has done with some other of the blue bloods with neutral games. Wisconsin, Alabama, I remember a few years ago. There's a lot of them. But I love this idea that SMU scheduled Oklahoma and LSU, whether it's at AT&T Stadium or elsewhere, and that now is a nice upgrade for them with their schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I give them credit for scheduling the teams. I think this sucks for the SMU fan.
They'll be overwhelmed, yeah.
Well, they'll be outnumbered.
That's what I just said, overwhelmed.
It's a different definition, but yeah, I mean, it's a situation where you had them having to come to your campus and play at your stadium, and now you're going to go to AT&T, so you will be vastly outnumbered by Oklahoma and LSU fans at that venue. But I'm sure it's a money situation. I'm sure there was some push and pull behind the scenes to try to maximize this matchup, and I'm sure SMU is going to make a boatload more money off this game, having hosted it at AT&T Stadium as opposed to having tens of thousands of less seating there at Gerald Ford Stadium. So, yeah, I mean, I guess from a money and exposure standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. I think from an actual home field feel to this game, now it just feels like another neutral site game, even if your campus is not that far away. It's not Dallas. It's not Highland Park. It's not University Park. It's Arlington. It's a big difference. So, yeah, this won't feel like an SMU home game. But like I said, I'm sure there's money involved.
But the bottom line to this, though, is, and I saw Billy Embody tweet this earlier, who's knows all these schools really well, especially SMU, is they either moved it to AT&T Stadium or Oklahoma and LSU were going to cancel the game. So, they either get to play them, the fans get to see these cool games against Oklahoma and LSU at AT&T Stadium, and they get to play it, or they don't.
Right.
And it doesn't, like, it sucks for SMU fans, but that's just the nature of it. And then what games do you get in that place? You're not going to get Oklahoma and LSU. So.
No, I mean, you're going to get your Florida States and Miamis as far as your conference schedule goes. But, yeah, I mean, that's what I expected was the case is it's money. LSU and Oklahoma, why are we going to go play in this tiny stadium? We have the ability to leverage this and, threaten them of, like, you either do it or we don't play you, which is kind of screwed up. But that's their right, I suppose. And so, now instead of it being a road game for either of those teams, how many times has OU played at AT&T Stadium and filled that place out? So that's not a road game. For LSU, same thing. They played at AT&T. I don't know how many times at this point, but often enough that there will be a ton of Tiger fans there. So, I get it from SMU's position. They didn't sound like they had much of a choice. So I don't know that you really celebrate this in that way. Like, oh, cool, we're going to – it's like, no, you had to. You basically said, we're not playing you unless you move it here. So that wouldn't make me feel all that great, but I would be understanding of it.
It's the first time that SMU will play in the stadium where the Cowboys play since back prior to what happened with the death penalty. First game they ever played, they played back in 1972 at Texas Stadium, and then they had home contests there until the mid-1980s. In fact, that was during a time when SMU had 4 10-win seasons, so they'll play those two games at AT&T Stadium.
Here's what I do know: the luxury boxes will be sold out.
No.
No, it'll be jam-packed.
There'll be as many luxury boxes and suites sold to SMU as maybe anybody.
It'll be jam-packed, and that'll be cool, but it'll also be about 70% LSU fans to 30% SMU fans, and same thing with Oklahoma. So much for that home game, but, hey, you get to play LSU and Oklahoma.
All right. Now, yesterday evening, the Pac-12 released their schedule for 2026. We're going to have John Wilner from the Wilner Report and his thoughts about it. Very unique. There's 2 or 3 different nuggets here. One, 8 teams. Everyone will play each other. But then there will be one weekend at the end. It's called a flex weekend, where there will be a rematch. And the Pac-12 controls the rights to who plays that weekend, even though they've set up that weekend with the schedule based on and determined when they get to that point on what is in the best interest for the Pac-12.
Yeah, I think this is a great way to get attention on your new league, too, and get some eyeballs on it. That last week when you're going to fall into some rivalry week competition, you're going to fall into some other things TV-wise. But if I found out on Sunday that, Boise State is playing San Jose – well, not San Jose State, but like San Diego State, and it's for the conference title, that's pretty exciting to me. So it's different. It's something I might tune into where maybe I wouldn't have before as a casual fan. So, yeah, I like that flex game thing. It's pretty cool.
I don't really get it. I don't really understand. You're trying to rig the system in your favor. I don't know that I love that. We're going from your draw is your draw, your schedule is your schedule, to now you're trying to fix the ending to ensure the best spot for you in the playoff. That just doesn't seem real.
Yeah. That's a fair
It's a fair way to look at it. It's also where it's almost like they're having a playoff on the last weekend, but there's only one team that's going to get out of that. And so the number 1 and number 2 teams are going to play each other.
But they, look, they have this problem in that they need the 8th game.
But that doesn't count as a conference game.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't?
No.
Oh, okay. That I didn't.
No, it doesn't count as a conference game.
It will the regular season as a non-conference game, even though they'll play some team twice in that run. Yep.
Yeah, so it's to create matchups, and they said in their release, maximize TV revenue. And I guess I'm just curious of how this is going to work because they don't want rematches, so they're going to avoid having an immediate rematch of the Pac-12 or avoid a rematch of the Pac-12 championship game, I guess, which they'll I don't know. We need John Wilner to explain this
because
he's
coming on.
I don't get it's not a conference game. You're just kind of rigging the schedule, but I don't understand if they're doing it where it's going to be the 2 best teams, or if you're going to have your undefeated team, you purposely give them the worst team so that they don't get a loss? Like, that's the part I don't really understand. Or are you putting the two best teams?
No,
You wouldn't, because the next week you play the conference title game.
I reached out to someone who covers Oregon State, and they said what they're hoping is that they will have the two best teams almost in a championship game type situation. So the best team will have the best team will survive instead of their top 2 or 3 teams getting knocked off in a loss.
Yeah, and I there's just the part about, like, the full round robin, it leaves them where they would need another game. So I get filling that void with another conference game. It's just that, it's not even a conference game considered that. So John Wilner can fill us in and help answer some of these questions, because, I was just left a little bit puzzled by kind of how this would be executed. I'm not opposed to the idea, although I do have that big lingering question, obviously, about, like, you didn't get to pick who you played in Week 12, and now you're basically deciding which teams are playing and how that might work, and that's good strategy on the part of the Pac. I don't know if that's, like, in the spirit of the game, the best thing in the world, but maybe the explanation will clarify my wondering about that and actually make a ton of sense. So we'll let John try to explain all that.
I sent him a text as I was about to crash last night. I said, I had Matt Zenitz. It looked like we were going to get him at 4. And I said, God, I was about to fall asleep. And I said, hey, can you join us tomorrow? And he said 5 o'clock's good, and that's we'll have him and what all this means and kind of what else is going on too. So that's happening. They'll have a 8-game seat. They'll play 8 games against conference teams, but 7 of those games will count as a conference game. The last weekend that they have as of now would be Boise State at Utah State, Texas State, which is now a part of that, at Colorado State, Fresno State home against San Diego State, and Oregon State at Washington State, which would be twice that they would play 2 former Pac-12 rivals. So that's the Pac-12 at that point. Now, we need a break right here.
I'll say this in the Pac. It's exciting for those fans to see a new schedule out. For all those new teams that'll be joining, it's exciting to see when and if you're going to go play in such and such place for the very first time. So congrats to all those new Pac schools like Boise State and Colorado, all the states that they added over the last year. Good for them to kind of have this first foray. But that's definitely kind of a wild card in the schedule. And based on kind of more scanning, it's they could put, like, the best matchup possible on TV, but then again I just wonder about, like, well, that's the next week in the conference title game. So John could fill us in, but it is an exciting new frontier for that league, and as we've seen, they're less in competition, I think, with the certainly not the Big Ten or the SEC, and to a lesser degree the ACC and the Big 12, since those two picked them apart a couple years ago. But the Mountain West is turning into a ferocious little rivalry that I think we'll see play out between those two. And I'm excited to see what the new Pac looks like and kind of how it operates, and if it really makes a big difference in the long run, or maybe in a couple years they're looking back going, we should have merged with the Mountain West. We'll see, but it'll be interesting.
I used that word earlier. I think that might help them. They might think that way. The championship game, as somebody said, Clint, we will be on the home. The championship game will be on a campus in the Pac-12. When we come back, what's going on with Kansas State basketball? Even Colorado's Tad Boyle went off, the Colorado coach, after they were skewered by Texas Tech. But Jerome Tang and K-State, bags on the heads of students and more. He went off at a very short post-game conference, and K-State fans are fed up. And we'll discuss that and more. And later on, the NFL Combine around the corner, and which programs have the most invitees, what players, the best ones, were left out. We'll do that too. This is 365 Sports. So we just got back from San Francisco. We don't make that trip without Alan Samuels' House of Travel. We don't. Bambi Eskew, we appreciate her. Bill Denton, CEO of Alan Samuels Holdings. They set us up with an Airbnb. We had 6 people there for most of that week in San Francisco. And they found us an Airbnb in, Daly City, which is about it depends, the traffic, but about 12 miles south of downtown San Francisco. They set that up for us. They set up our airline tickets from DFW to San Francisco International Airport. They did that for us. The peace, the quiet, you have no anxiety. I called them. I said, this is what we want to do. Can you help us out? And they did it. Let them do the stress of trying to find the best rates or the best flights or the best dates. they did for us. Alan Samuels' House of Travel, they've now set us up in Vegas. They have set us up in Phoenix. They have set us up in New Orleans. And they set us up in San Francisco. And they also have set us up a couple of times in Frisco when the Big 12 has had their media days there. Alan Samuels, House of Travel, let them take the stress off of you for a big trip or a cruise or overseas or wherever at Alan Samuels, House of Travel.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Save big during the Start Something New sales event at Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off or choose 0% financing. Get a new Laramie Crew Cab 4-wheel drive with 3.9% financing for 72 months plus $15,000 off MSRP. Explore in a new Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo starting at $31,990. Happening now at Alan Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
Marco's only uses premium toppings, which means your pizza isn't just flavorful, it's mushroom-full, or sausage-full, or pepperoni-full. And you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas from the place named America's favorite pizza chain starting at $8.99 every day, only at Marco's.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
Yes, it is. We appreciate your time. Brandon Aro, Logan Bagessi, Andrew Valade, and Garrett Ross behind the scenes doing their magic, and we do appreciate them. This is 365 Sports. One update. I mentioned one of our sponsors and also a viewer, Kim Coulter, was having back surgery on Tuesday. Everything went well. He also then had surgery again today. His wife, Pamela, said everything is going well. He's comfortable. Well, I don't know about that. He's just had 2 back surgeries. She sent me images of what they did. It gets me. There's a lot of metal in his back.
Why would they do that?
Well, because she was being sweet. She wanted to send me. But they did a lot. And so thinking about you, Kim, I know a lot of in the chat have asked about it. I've had text about it, too. So Kim Coulter seems to be doing very well, but a long recovery ahead of time. And speaking of recovery, man, the bloom has been off the rose of Jerome Tang for a long time. That first year, they were dynamic. They looked like they, Elite Eight, all of what they did. And then all of a sudden, the train is off the rails. And they got destroyed last night at home by Cincinnati. Jerome Tang in the postgame. This was embarrassing. These dudes do not deserve to wear this uniform. There will be very few of them in them next year. It is just ridiculous. We have practice at 6 a.m. I don't know if they did that or if anyone showed up. If they did, I'm pissed. This is, yeah. And he was done.
Yeah.
And Jerome Tang, by the way, has to take a big accountability on what's going on, too.
Yeah, he does. I think that he and Scott Drew just need a reunion tour here in Waco. I think they both kind of need each other at this point. Scott has no assistance left from the 2021 run. Really anymore. So I think that would be good. I think that it's run its course at Kansas State. I love Jerome Tang as a human being. He was always great to me for years and years while he's here. I hate that he's struggling like this. I hate that the school is struggling like this. The basketball team isn't any good, and it really, really sucks. But, man, when you're at this point of, kind of just going down the, these guys don't deserve to wear the jersey. A lot of them wouldn't be here. It sounds like both sides, coaches and players, have given up on each other, and that's something I just never thought I would see out of someone from the Scott Drew tree. It just gotten so bad.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be there much longer. I think that's becoming crystal clear. K-State with a great opportunity to just have a full, clean sweep of their two major athletic programs after moving on from Chris Kleiman, to which degree he also was deciding that. We know Kleiman was disenchanted with the direction of college football, and we'll see what the future holds for him. But that seems like it was mutual at worst between those two. This is not a situation where I think Jerome Tang wants to leave, but it's gotten so bad that he probably at this point isn't worried about leaving. And, yeah, maybe return to familiar territory alongside Scott Drew on his bench, or another job somewhere doing something else. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be as the head coach of Kansas State for much longer. They're 10-14. They're not quite last, but they are 15th out of 16th in the Big 12.
Utah's the only one, right?
Utah's the only team below them at this point, and they just beat Utah a few weeks back. So they have that as far as if there were a tiebreaker that were to come into play to decide who's the worst team in the Big 12, it's Utah. But Kansas State's not that far behind them. This is 5 consecutive losses. It's one thing to lose to Kansas State. West Virginia's respectable. Iowa State's obviously very good, but Iowa State's not supposed to be 34 points better than you. You got beat 95-61 by Iowa State just a few days back. And then turn around, had the TCU game that was very much a winnable game, that very much felt like it was going to be a win. And then that slips through your fingertips and becomes what should have been just a good, solid win to an awful, ugly loss that's just bringing back more feelings of how the last couple of years have gone. And then you turn around and you lose to Cincinnati, who, yes, is one of the middle-of-the-pack teams at best in this league. And certainly not anybody go, well, oh, my God, that's fireable losing to Cincinnati. But the combination of the way things have occurred, and now you've got this testiness that's really been present for quite a while on the fan side of things. Like, their media contingents, if you will, and their fans have been very outspoken for quite a while now about how they're not liking the direction of this, how they're kind of over the whole Jerome Tang thing. And that's been the case for a while. And that was before 5 consecutive losses, including a 34-point loss to your arch rival or one of your arch rivals there in Iowa State, and slipping that TCU game, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it's just getting worse and worse and worse, and noisier and noisier. And now he's lashing out, and it's a recipe for an ending coming very soon, it feels like.
Yeah, K-State, you said they've lost 5 in a row. They've lost 4 straight games on the road by a combined amount of 11 points in the Big 12. Their last 3 home games, including getting drilled by Cincinnati, they've lost by 87 points at home. Bags over the heads of dozens of students, maybe more, maybe it's hundreds. Even Jerome Tang said, I'd wear a bag too. Also, from Derek Young, this has definitely been covering K-State a long time. This is definitely the worst Kansas State basketball team I've covered. And the bags over the heads of students didn't just have 8 to 10, but then eventually they started to multiply more and more as the game went on.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned in the blowout loss to Iowa State, that was at home. That was a home loss where you lost by 30-plus points to one of your biggest rivals. And then, yeah, last night also a brutal 20-plus point loss to another team at home. So
yeah,
it's
87-3,
really
that's 30 a
bad
game
right now for Kansas State and Jerome Tang, and there's not any sign that it's going to be better. It's not one of those things where you can say, well, we just need to go to the pocketbooks and get more money. K-State fans have already donated. They answered the call already, and for 2 years now they have not seen any return on their investment. And then you now have this situation where you're having embarrassing blowout losses at home, and not to Arizona, the number 1 team in the country, and to Texas Tech. It's to, teams that are right there where you are if not a little bit higher. And so I think, the writing's on the wall here, fellas. Like, they're not going to turn around and be a good team the rest of this year. There's no reason to believe that's in the cards at all. And as far as next year goes, I don't know how you're going to sit there and drum up support and interest when you've done that the last 2 seasons. And last year was like, okay, maybe that's an outlier and what have you. But now it's another year, and it's like, oh, it's getting worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. So how is Jerome Tang going to go up there at the Cotton Patch Club of Wichita and sit there and tell them, we just need your support to go get the right guys? It's like, we gave you a ton of money and you got apparently all the wrong guys, and so why should we entrust you with any more? Like, that's the point where they are now. So you have that, and then you have just the fact that those two sides don't seem to really like each other now at this point either, because the fans have been very vocal and agitated, and now he's at a point where Mr. Cool, Calm, and Collected is now lashing out the other way. So, it's bad.
Their only win at home in the conference is Utah. And as you mentioned, that's the only team right behind them. They still have Houston on the road, Baylor at home, Texas Tech on the road. They also have Kansas on the road to close out the year, and they have Colorado, TCU, West Virginia in the middle of all that. So it is a bad time at K-State.
And not even picking sides here right now. If I'm a neutral observer and you asked me if I'm a player after I hear the coach say that, how enthusiastic am I going to be to play for him for the rest of the year?
Okay, so he said we have practice at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and this is 10 hours after he just said that some of you guys don't deserve to wear this uniform and you won't moving forward. So, like, how friendly was that practice? And it's not even at a point now, especially in this college sports era, where you're going to be able to dog on these guys and they can't do anything about it. They'll be like, all right, screw you. I'm getting in the transfer portal and I'll go get money elsewhere. I don't know how the practice went this morning. He said they'll get things right, but he had no answer and no words. Said he was pissed, said he's going to honor Christ like he always did, but he followed it up with, this was embarrassing. These dudes do not deserve to wear this uniform. There will be very few of them in it next year. I'm embarrassed for the university. I'm embarrassed for our fans, our student section. It is just ridiculous. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a month left, really including the Big 12 tournament. When you think about it.
They're going to have to win almost the rest of their games, like the 2 or 3 other teams at the bottom of the Big 12. That's not going to happen.
Well, the other thing
they're going to have to win the conference tournament.
The other thing, too, is like what set this off was that Elite 8 run. Y'all realize how long ago that was at this point?
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't 2 years ago.
22.
4 years ago.
Now approaching 5 years ago. So it's not like this is the honeymoon period was still ongoing. Honeymoon ended a couple years ago, and since it has, the last 2 years have been very rocky and shaky, and it looks like we're heading for a divorce sooner rather than later.
I'm not even talking about them making the postseason, Smoak. I'm just talking about how much time they have left with each other in the same
I would
room.
say how many games plus 1 in the regular season, plus perhaps, unless they get Utah in the opening round.
And lucky for them, they don't have to get on a plane to go to Kansas City. They can, if I were him, I would say everybody take your own cars.
Yeah, and I looked up a couple of the guys who cover K-State to see if they did have the practice, and if they did have anybody there. I didn't see anybody reporting on that. They might have shut the gym down in case they were.
Well, I want to give credit to Cincinnati for going and grabbing that win, and they've been a competitive team that's not in the big picture conversation because they are very middle of the road when you look at their wins and losses, whether it's conference play or not, and they are in the bottom half of the 16 of the Big 12 teams. But nice win for them, going to Manhattan and go put up nearly a 30-point dub on Jerome Tang and company. That was a good night for the Bearcats, and they find themselves now right there with TCU and Oklahoma State, West Virginia, kind of in that middle ground area. So, I want to make sure we mention it's not all K-State lost. Like, hey, Cincinnati went and kicked their ass too. So credit to the Bearcats.
Jizzle James, one of my favorite names in the Big 12, had 24 to lead the Bearcats to the win. Now, we will have later on the NFL Combine, of course, around the corner. What conferences, and you probably could guess 1 through 4, have the most invites, what schools have the most invites, and then also who are some that did not get an invite. We'll have that. We'll have Matt Zenitz from CBS and 247 Sports in a moment. And then again, John Wilner at 5 o'clock. Craig's off the radar. It's been in hiatus for a while. we'll have Off the Radar today at 4:45. This note as we hit the break, Tad Boyle, the Colorado coach, if you have not seen this, go to @Collier on TV in his Twitter feed. Tad Boyle went off for 2 minutes and apologized to the entire everything attached to Colorado. He said this was just a good old-fashioned ass whooping, and Texas Tech gave it to him.
Yeah, I mean, his rant was a bit different than Jerome
More
Tang's.
subdued.
Yeah, it was more subdued, and it was more like taking the blame rather than like there's not going to be guys in these jerseys next year. And it wasn't, I think, accompanied by various moments that have been leading to a boiling over situation like you have in Manhattan. So Tad Boyle, I don't know if anybody really blinks other than the Texas Tech fans who enjoyed it because they kicked their ass, and the Colorado fans who probably enjoyed him taking accountability for it and doing so in a much more productive way than Jerome Tang as far as it goes with the relationship of the fan base. But, yeah, he definitely left it all out there as far as needing to do a better job and his team needing to be better, and the fact that they got their ass kicked, which I think he actually said word for word a couple of times. So, a couple of different ways of lashing out in the post game, but going about it maybe from different approaches. And one is not going to have people clamoring for you after you get your ass whooped, and one is going to have people clamoring after you when you get your ass whooped. And Tad Boyle is going to be fine, I guess, for the foreseeable future. Not a lot of talk about Colorado basketball. Let's face it there in comparison to K-State. But, yeah, this Jerome Tang thing's been bubbling for a while.
Yeah, Tad Boyle took as much of the blame. He did not try to deflect it. He was across the board.
And credit to Tech. They're very, very good.
Matt Zenitz, we brought up coaches going from one level to the next, and I thought maybe is there some kind of a new trend because of how college football is just like pro football now? We'll have him on, but really about a lot of the coaching changes and his look back at he's unbelievable at following the transfer portal. He is next. This is, and if you have not, hit the like button, please do. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, we would appreciate you do that. And if you have, tell somebody else about us on 365 Sports and YouTube. So I've discussed QC Kinetics with you. I have been in treatment with them. I have treatment next week, which is I can't wait because every time I've had treatment, my body has felt better. Some of the aches and pains that I experienced for it seems like 5 years since COVID, they're gone. And I've had some pretty good workouts in recent days. I got to tell you a story about, there's a 42-year-old man. He was in the gym in the locker room. He's already had knee replacement, and he's thinking about getting more, and he has a lot of problems around his joints. If you have joint pain that's more than what it should be, and I mean any joint pain, let me explain. QC Kinetics can help you out. It's delivering regenerative treatment for you. Treatments that actually help you from what you have inside your own body. I have had, 3 different plasma, blood, platelets, stem cells, all of the above. Taken out, spun, put back in me. It's helping me. I gave this guy the information. I said, hey, when I see you tomorrow, I'm bringing the folder. You need to go get a consultation. 42-year-old with his knees are shot. And it's not like he's an athlete or a running back that took a lot of hits as an athlete. I've experienced how much it makes a difference for me personally, and my job now is to try to help him, Kent, and maybe others as well. It's a chance for you to stop kicking the can down the road with any kind of steroid injections that might help for 10 weeks or maybe not even that long. It's a chance to be healed. It's a chance to feel right. It's a chance to get better. I know. QC Kinetics with locations in both Houston and Dallas. In Houston, 713-913-5286, 713-913-5286. And in Dallas, 972-972-8610, 972-972-8610 with QCKinetics.com.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
At BK Ford, we step onto the field every day for our customers. Here, legends are born and glory is earned. The spirit of competition unites us all as we stand as one. It's more than a truck, it's a passion. Get ready for the thrill, the triumphs, and the unforgettable moments that only BK Ford can deliver. Are you ready to experience better? BK Ford.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
This is 365 Sports.
You know, you hear about the hardest working person in show business or whoever it may be. Matt Zenitz with CBS Sports, I think maybe the hardest working person covering college football, transfer portal, and much, much more. He joins us. This is a good get for us. Thank you, Matt, for having time and spending time with us with David Craig and also Paul Catalina. Let me ask you this, and I know things have slowed down for now, and then you have the combine, the draft, and all that. Matt, I asked this question earlier, is because college football is now as much NFL or pro football, do you see any trend of the coaches going from college to the NFL or the NFL to college at all?
There's definitely an increased interest level in college coaches, on the part of college coaches, and making the move to the NFL space, just based on the fact that, as one coach who's worked in both spaces did describe to me at one point in the last year, working at the college level, you essentially leave work to go home and work more at the NFL level. And it's not like you don't have responsibilities, obviously, but you leave work and actually have a chance to have a life outside of work. And that's something that I think has contributed to the fact that we've now had 20-plus Power 4 assistant coaches leave for NFL opportunities in just the last 2 weeks.
Matt, do you think that will change with the more front offices get involved in recruiting?
TBD. Obviously, it's still a lot that college coaches are responsible for right now. And again, I'm not saying that there aren't significant responsibilities for NFL coaches at the same time, but there definitely are certain periods of the year where, as an NFL coach, you're actually able to have a life outside of work and able to check out to a certain degree where that's just less realistic at the college level, especially considering just the current state of college sports and college football.
Matt, how has it changed maybe the timeline of how you cover certain things? Like, as your day-to-day normally what it was maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, or is the timeline muddled and a lot different because of the way the calendar is muddled and a lot different?
The transfer portal has definitely gotten crazier during the course of the last few years, and obviously that's continued to evolve. Going back 5 years ago especially, the portal wasn't anywhere near as crazy as what it is now, and the numbers in terms of transfer portal entrance has gone up legitimately every year. So that's something that obviously keeps us all busy, just trying to stay on top of once the portal cycle comes around. But I mean, really, that November through end of January period is chaotic with the combination of transfer portal, college coaching movement, NFL coaching movement, all that stuff going on essentially at the same time, and heading into the final stages of some of that stuff right now. Obviously, we're past the transfer portal part of it, but now heading into the final stages of the coaching cycle.
What was it like when you had somebody enter the portal, commit to another school, even maybe sign, and then all of a sudden want to change and go somewhere else? Was that kind of your first thought was like, because that's happened. It's happened. Some have been forced to stay and some have been able to leave.
Yeah, that's something that's not really new in terms of the cycle. It's been the case with different guys, obviously, during the course of the last few years, similar to high school recruiting process. Okay, for example, I think this was last year, maybe 2 years ago, last year, so somewhere in that time frame, had a defensive lineman who ended up at a Big Ten school who legitimately, before signing with that school, committed to 4 separate places. So yeah, you saw it some in terms of this cycle, players committing somewhere, maybe even signing somewhere, and then ultimately ending up at somewhere else. But it's not just limited to this cycle that has happened.
Matt, who in this cycle had the best recruiting strategy when it came to the portal that wasn't somebody who kind of cracked the code last year like Tech or Indiana or Miami? Who is maybe the next wave of that's kind of maybe figured out how to do it right?
Trying to think outside of obvious schools. Okay, clearly you have the LSUs and the Texas Techs of the world that did a tremendous job and put themselves in position to compete for playoff spot and potential national championship next year. Like for example, Lane Kiffin lands number 1 ranked transfer portal class, headlined by quarterback Sam Levitt to go along with a number of other notable players. I would say outside of that, Will Stein did a good job with his first portal class at Kentucky. So Will made the move to Kentucky as head coach there after being Dan Lanning's offensive coordinator at Oregon. They ended up with a top 10 to 12 ranked transfer portal class and landed several transfers that for us were ranked as four-star transfers, including quarterback Kenny Minchie, who was a flip for them from Nebraska. I would say one other one to go along with that would be Cal. So not only did Cal do a good job from a player retention standpoint with Tosh Lapoy, their new head coach, and keeping star young quarterback that they have, but Cal, of all places, ends up with a transfer portal class that's ranked in the top 15 nationally, beat out some high-end schools, including some premier places at the SEC level for certain players that they were able to land. And it puts Tosh Lapoy in position now where, combined with keeping the quarterback like they were able to, combining that with some of the players that they were able to add, has him set up to maybe do some nice things heading into year one as Cal's head coach.
Yeah, man, you can feel the drums beating already, the expectation for JKS next year. It's very exciting. He's so talented. To have some players around him is going to be a lot of fun next year. When it comes to Texas Tech, just how would you describe how much of a disruption they've been to kind of the ecosystem the last couple of off seasons?
I mean, the goal for Joey McGuire, or I shouldn't even say the goal, but the mindset of Joey McGuire and some of the higher ups there at Texas Tech was when they first got there that they had the capability to be essentially the next Clemson and to become the next school that I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but similar to Clemson, went from being a team that wasn't in the mix for national championships pre-Dabo to all of a sudden becoming a team that won multiple national titles. Texas Tech was of the mindset that they had a realistic chance to become that next type of place. And based on the job that they've continued to do from a player acquisition standpoint, it has them set up to where obviously they had the success that they did this season, but now have made this a sustainable deal, and they're going to be a favorite in that conference heading into next season, and will have a realistic chance once again of going out and competing for potentially a national championship.
Matt, you seem to be as tight end as anybody can. That's your job, and there's others who try to do the same thing in certain ways, maybe not as much of this or that. Literally, and what is your phone like? What is it like for you? Do you have waiting messages, text, etc., telling you stuff or responding to you even before you wake up? What's that like to look at your phone if we would like just to put it on fast forward in a time lapse?
During the peak of all of this, as my wife can tell you, we was on the phone pretty much every day for a month period from 6 a.m. until 1 or 2 a.m. And that was continuous for a month period at the peak of all of this. Even as things stand right now, when I woke up this morning, had text that I was getting at 3 o'clock in the morning where I don't understand the mindset in terms of sending texts at 3 o'clock in the morning. But especially considering like this one specifically wasn't anything groundbreaking or time sensitive, but there's still enough going on right now. We're on the phone for the better part of the day and looking forward to getting into a period coming up hopefully soon that can scale back and not be on the phone as much as have had to be during the course of the last few months. But at the same time, try to stay on top of all of this stuff from both college and NFL perspective as much as I can be. And in order to be able to accomplish that, takes a certain level of investment and a certain level of time, and as far as being on the phone and talking to people and trying to be on top of things.
What's your favorite college coaching move of this cycle?
That's a great question. I feel like the college head coaching part of it is it almost feels like a different lifetime at this point, just based on everything that's happened since that point. Put me on the spot with that one. I wasn't expecting that type of question. I honestly, one of ones that comes to mind, and this is kind of an outside the box one, considering it's not at the Power 4 level. I love the fit with Brian Hartline in South Florida. So Hartline is somebody who's gotten Power 4 interest for Power 4 head coaching jobs during the course of the last couple of years. Ultimately, he ends up being hired as Alex Golish's replacement at South Florida. And South Florida, if you talk to people around the coaching world, they'll tell you South Florida is clearly the top resourced place at the Group of 5 level. So yeah, you have a combination of an extremely respected rising star figure in the coaching world taking over there. Now, combining that with a school that has tremendous infrastructure, tremendous resources, I think they're set up to do very well and potentially be a playoff team from the Group of 5 level. And I think very well within the next 12 to 24 months that Brian Hartline, based on just the expectations that I have for him and the job that I think he's going to be capable of doing there, see him as a very attractive head coaching candidate for P4 places coming up within these next 12 to 24 months.
He's already the best recruiter of the state of Florida, and now he's sitting in that state. I mean, I don't think anybody in the country is better at getting the best high-end talent out of Florida than him.
They did a good job with some of the portals that they picked up also. So added 2 Power 4 transfers at quarterback, added a former 5-star recruit at linebacker and C.J. Hicks, who was with him at Ohio State, added Pup Howard, who was at Florida as a linebacker. So they did a good job picking up some talent. We'll see what that leads to them being able to do heading into next season.
Matt, we had Eric Morris, Oklahoma State football coach, on yesterday, and a long segment with us, and he discussed how they had all of the players from North Texas that were interested in going and following him to Stillwater in one weekend. I think 32 players or something like that. I don't know how many of them all went or not, but he obviously filled up his roster from Denton. Your thoughts about what he's done in a short amount of time?
Well, the quarterback part of it is obviously big, and getting someone in Drew Mestamaker that was a very attractive transfer possibility for a lot of different schools around the country, but obviously had the ties that he did to Eric, follows Eric there to Oklahoma State, and getting Drew to go along with some of the other pieces that Eric added has them set up to be better next year than what they were this season.
Matt Zenitz with us, CBS Sports, 247 Sports on 365 Sports. So the portal tightened up. The coaching carousel's never going to get any tighter. It's going to always be a little bit crazy. In your opinion, what would be if you could make some rules in college football? What would it be? What would you like to see done? Not just to help your job be easier, because you got a great job, people rely on you. What would you like to see them do, if anything?
Move the transfer portal window from January 2nd into December, since essentially the portal window starts right after the regular season ends anyway. Players make it clear at that point that they're planning on going into the portal at that stage, even with the window not opening until January 2nd. So I would love if, and not only me, actually,
right.
Not only would I love that, coaches, I think we would love if to just move this back into December and had this as what's supposed to be a 15-day window starting at that point, instead of being where it is now, which turns it into essentially a month and a half window of all of this stuff going on. But we will see if that change ends up being made.
My last question. Thanks for your time today, Matt. I know it's great to have you on. You were writing and covering Baltimore, the Ravens, University of Maryland, Alabama, SEC. What was it that got you into the business that you love so much?
I just passionate for football. I started doing this stuff my junior year of high school. I originally from Maryland and started doing work for local places at that point, back way when I was 17. And we was fortunate to have said some connections that I made at that point lead to different opportunities, and been fortunate to just be able to continue to grow since that point.
Thank you, man. You do a great job, Matt. You really do. CBS Sports, and the guy, he follows it all. You look at his timeline. If you're not on his timeline, you're missing out, because it is packed. It could literally, if you have Twitter, like everyone does it differently, but you could have Twitter, and you could have another link pinned at the top of your feed that's just Matt Zenitz, and you will get a bucket load of information.
Every morning I've got a list of people I go to, and he is certainly one of them.
Yep.
And usually he's got it before everybody else. He does a fantastic job. He had to jump off with us, by the way. He texted me. Trinidad Chambliss' ruling is coming up.
That was actually one of the things that when I sent some stuff, I guess this morning, that we needed to talk about. That wasn't, I think, on the list. But, yeah, that's been ongoing. I was watching some of it earlier, and we are expected to get some type of an announcement here, I guess, relatively soon. But got to say, I can't pretend like I sat and watched all of it and I know every little detail and every little thing that was said. But at one point, the Chambliss side was trying to say that he did have a medical redshirt issue, and that the coach had told him at Ferris State that he was going to medically redshirt. The problem with that is the coach allegedly, according to the Chambliss side, told him before the season even started.
Yeah.
So how could you possibly have already said, oh, by the way, we're just going to medically redshirt you, even though we haven't played any games yet? Now, I get that he could have had an injury in fall camp or something, but that's not the way that it was presented.
He's claiming to have had a very severe case of tonsillitis.
Right. So he's got his reasoning as to why. But, between the initial reports that said that when Ferris State was approached, they were like, we don't, he was fine. We didn't have any, medical redshirt thing for him. He had some bumps and bruises like everybody else, but it wasn't to the extent of that. And then now him claiming that they actually said you're going to medically redshirt, or that was the discussion before the season really got underway. That's puzzling, because I guess suppose you could spin that as, oh, well, he had this lingering injury and they just decided he'd be out for the year. But I just feel like you'd have more documentation of such a thing if it was so serious that before you even started playing, they're like, you're going to miss the entire year, which he didn't. So I don't know. Was that this year where he played like a couple of times? Like,
no, in 22 he didn't play at all.
Okay, so that must be the year they're
did
referring
not
to.
play.
That's what's confusing is there was a year where he played a little bit, and I know that's what they're arguing is all of that. So, yeah, I was just kind of reading some of that back and forth, and it was not the most compelling argument in favor of Chambliss's side, but I also didn't take in every little part of it, so maybe there was something that sways people in their direction. But as of right now, if I had to throw a prediction on it, I'm going to say he doesn't get his year because that's where all signs are pointing.
Selfishly, even though I think a lot of us are like worn out by guys playing 5, 7, 8 years, I want him to play because I enjoyed watching him more at the end of the year when I got a chance to see him more. At the same time, did you hear that? Was it Joe Judge who was on the stand?
Yes.
And what was he talking about?
Well, Lane Kiffin's already responded with like a, oh, Joe kind of thing.
Yeah.
He said, and I don't know the context to it.
Which is the weirder part because I don't know how that helps Trinidad Chambliss at all.
No, but Joe Judge said that if that if he had players with like
there it is.
Young kids or whatever, that the family, the wife or the girlfriend or whatever had to be understanding that he can't be getting up during football for feedings at night. Like I just had a sister who just had a kid like in October, and they've had to work out the whole like who gets up tonight and who all does that. And basically what Joe Judge was saying is that he like lets the girl know, or the player lets the girl know, like, when football's football, like you can't be getting, you need your rest, basically, is what he was saying, and it just came across as the most.
I'll just tell you,
stupid thing to say you could possibly have said.
I don't have kids, but I just know that when you walk and tell your wife, "Hey, I'm not going to do this because it's this," and if she's decided that you're going to, that's not going to go well.
No.
I also will promise you this. Joe Judge, who has 4 kids, I looked this up after he said it. He has 4 kids. At least one of them in therapy has had a lot of talk about, my dad and I feel distant, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is why.
Here's the quote.
And I was like, what is he talking about?
Well, here's the quote.
Okay.
He said he was up in front of the judge, Joe Judge in front of the judge on Thursday morning as a part of the Trinidad Chambliss injunction hearing. And he said, this is always a tough conversation to have. It's not going to be a popular opinion, but this is the truth. We would have to educate significant others who may have been pregnant during the season or are going to have a baby during the season, and you'd have to educate them on, you have this baby in the middle of the season, that father has to play good football. It's a day-by-day production business. He has to be ready to perform and go out there and play. And when I say that, what I mean is you need to let him sleep. He needs to be in another room detached. You have to explain to the mother, like, hey, listen, he ain't waking up for midnight feedings. After the season, he's Full Metal Jacket. You can do whatever you want with him. He can change every diaper, but in season, he's got to have a different priority.
Can you imagine?
So that was Joe Judge today on the stand at the injunction hearing for Trinidad Chambliss.
Yeah, the mail, the direct messages.
Lane Kiffin's was just, he like quoted the video part of it and just had the, the oh my gosh emoji, like slapping your head.
I don't the thing that will keep me up at night, because we haven't seen the question he was asked.
Yeah, like what even got there?
What is that like? How does that help, Joe? You're trying to get Trinidad Chambliss eligibility right now. If I'm a judge, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I just need to let this go. But
can we strike that?
Yeah, can we I don't know, because I would have on the other side I've been like objection, relevance, like the whole crux of this is not what they do lifestyle wise. All that is what is fair to Trinidad Chambliss based on the rules of the NCAA, plus the rulings that they've made giving other people eligibility. And so the 2022 year is the only thing that this is really about. Like, all this other stuff just filled up time. And if I'm the Trinidad Chambliss team, I'm sure they've done this. I mean, look, just today, or was this 2 days ago, Montana has a linebacker.
Yep.
What's his name, Paul?
His name is Solomon Chuliapupu.
Okay.
Yeah. He just got his 9th year of eligibility because when he was an undergrad at USC, he never actually played during his undergrad time because he had 2 pretty severe surgeries. And he's 26 now, and this would kind of be really legitimately his 5th year, because for the 4 years he was at USC, he couldn't actually play for USC.
Put it very clearly, he's trying to play his 9th season. He's going to. He's getting eligibility, but he's missed 5 years with injuries.
So
5 seasons.
So
I'm sorry. Medical red shirt, there used to be perhaps you get a year or 2, like Jackson, or it was Jordan Shipley.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get more than that. And he's got 4.
So he's got all these years. So if I'm Tom Mars, who is representing Trinidad Chambliss, I'm asking what's the difference between his 1 if the paperwork wasn't filed and this guy's 5? It's arbitrary.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's when you get into the medical details, obviously, is where you'd have to show, like, well, Tuliaupupu had this surgery in spring, whatever, of this, 2020. I think he was like a 2018 or 19 signee. That's how long this Tuliaupupu has been around. And I think with the Trinidad Chambliss, it would be all about the medical records. And that's the part that doesn't really add up, is like it should be very clear on if you had an injury that would cause you to medically redshirt. Not this like, well, he told me before the season started, and then I don't know. But that's what that side's arguing, is that he should have this extra year. And it to their point, and to Paul's point, like, yeah, I'd be like, so y'all are trying to hold him back when he might have had this legitimate injury, and meanwhile here is 8-year guy and 9-year guy, and this guy can't get another year. And so I get where they're coming from. I'm also team eligibility, or what's the actual phrase? Team. Maybe eligibility is the right word, but I'm team like 5 years and get the hell out of college. Yeah. So that's what I am. Like, if you want to stick around and keep getting degrees, then by all means. Like, I don't want to push people out of getting educated by any means, but as far as being an athlete, I think there should be a limitation. And sure, there might be those medical redshirt years or something that, I mean, I think that'll be the big conversation, is how do you limit it to cap at 5 if there are legitimately people who need a 6-year because they had some horrific things happen, like a broken leg or something. I don't know. That the lawyers can sort all of that out, but it is a very gray area that they need to figure out to take a positive step forward for this game. Just like all the other issues that are ongoing to some degree, eligibility should be pretty clear-cut. It should be pretty simple that if you're a fan of college sports, you know, hey, this person's a sophomore, they didn't redshirt, they got 4 more years left to play or whatever. But instead, it's like, it's anybody's guess. I mean, it's anybody's guess. And so, yeah, you have people who are playing their 8th, 9th years of college football, and another guy who, and then you got others who are trying to argue that JUCO doesn't count all of a sudden, and that doesn't count against your eligibility. So I think this offseason eligibility is going to be one of those big buzzy topics that they need to kind of clarify a little bit.
Here's what I would do. I would say that you can play 4 years if you had 2 JUCO years. If you played 2 years of JUCO, you could have 4 years. Okay, we'll give you 4 years, so you get 6 because JUCO will count that as 1 year. And then if you don't play JUCO, you have 5 for 5. That's my compromise.
So you're saying 2 years playing JUCO is worth 1?
Worth 1. That way you can, like, it's a compromise. It's not perfect, which is what compromise is.
What about NAIA?
Again, that's another thing altogether, but yeah. But yeah, so JUCO, maybe JUCO, NAIA, all that kind of falls into one thing. And then you say, okay, if you're at NCAA and not JUCO or NAIA, your 2 years count for 2 years. So if you play 2 years at Division III and then all of a sudden you hit a growth spurt and everybody wants you, guess what? You have 3 years to play. Yeah. Like, that's what I would do.
It just seemed like that could get complicated. It's like spinning the wheel, literally.
But it is, to me, it's pretty straightforward. Like, you get 2 years at this, and then you get 4 years at the NCAA level, if that's what it is. And then after that,
so he has now had he has been denied 3 times. Is that right? Mm-hmm. The request for reconsideration of quarterback Trinidad Chambliss's eligibility, this is from earlier this afternoon, submitted the request. He has been now denied in everything he's done. And there's another ruling that we're waiting on for right now? Is that right?
They had the injunction hearing. That's where the Joe Judge thing came from.
Yeah, no, I know that. But what Ross Dellinger had earlier today, they denied the request for reconsideration of quarterback Trinidad Chambliss's eligibility waiver. That was at 1 o'clock earlier today, just 3 hours ago. And then they, of course, submitted the request Monday with new evidence and did not meet NCAA threshold. But the law, that's why they're in court today. Yeah.
Yeah,
So confusing.
Well, I mean, go look at Ross's timeline a little bit further up, and he will an hour ago tell you that his attorney was giving closing rebuttals to the court, and they are arguing the NCAA acted in bad faith and denying him a medical red shirt, and the closing arguments are going on. So, yeah, they're having this hearing right now, and there's going to be a decision made here, I guess. I don't know how all that works, but soon enough, and we'll have what you would think would be kind of the final stand of Trinidad Chambliss for another year, but perhaps there's another legal avenue they can pursue because, I mean, at this point, why the hell not? You fought it so long, but yeah, it almost does feel like, all right, dude, the writing's on the wall. Like, start getting ready for the combine. And
the judge is returning from his chambers. The latest. So that's what we're waiting on the decision. Okay, well we'll follow that along. Thanks to Matt Zenitz for giving you the heads up, Paul, and you guys are following it anyway.
I was following it along that the judge went into chambers and would try to get it done by this afternoon. Hey, good on you, Judge, for doing that. I don't think it's something you really have to think about that long. I think this is a pretty simple legal argument when it comes down to it.
Well, and I think
it's not a jury trial, so that's good.
Yeah, I think the NCAA side is trying to let the judge know that this is like a bigger picture decision as well. Although I think in one instance the judge sort of pushed back on that. They were trying to compare it to another situation, and he's like, "No, this isn't like that." I'm trying to think of what the exact situation was. I don't think it was
Bediako?
No, yeah, it was Bediako. Yeah, I think the NCAA is trying to say is like, if you allow this, then it just opens the doors to like a Bediako, and I think the judge is like, this isn't like Bediako because it's not like he's coming from the NFL or the XFL or something and trying to play pro ball. And he's right that it's not the exact same thing, but I understand that side of the NCAA trying to make every single case like this like a big picture deal of if you don't help us out here, this could lead to Pandora's box opening up even further. But the judge has got a rule on this one case. Sounds like we'll get that later on today. Seems like it's pretty cut and dry, and obviously it's a very massive decision for Trinidad Chambliss's present and future, and for Ole Miss, and for anybody else that's attached in some way.
It doesn't just affect Ole Miss, who's their quarterback, or his career. It affects all of college football. And then on top of that, if he has too many more of these delays, is he going to get drafted at all?
I think they've changed the NFL. They're not doing the supplemental draft anymore. So I think that he would be able to kind of file that into the NFL and say, like, hey, I can't play anymore, and they would take him.
Yeah.
And again, he's very fortunate also that this is the year that he would have to do that when there's not a ton of quarterbacks. And I'm sure all 32 owners would be like, yes, please put this guy in there, because he would be the third or fourth quarterback taken if he was in the draft this year. When those quarterbacks when he would be taken is what would be up for grabs.
In fact, we're going to discuss that with the NFL Combine. How many quarterbacks are in the top 100 of Dane Brugler's top 100? We'll have that and more. One of the back and forth, though, that I did think was interesting was the Judge Whitwell. So you never played in 2022. And Trinidad Chambliss said, no, sir. And I don't know if that's still, it's all legal, et cetera, but he's like, the judge was just making sure, and the answer, again, as we've said, when he was at Ferris State, is no.
Yeah, I mean, that's never been in question that he didn't play. It would be in the stats if he had played. So, yeah, that's not in question whatsoever. But, what is in question is whether he'll get another year, and I guess we'll find out here relatively soon.
All right, we'll come back when we have that. It's 4:32. This is 365 Sports. Don Chumidor Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off of Valley Mills and Richland Drive in Waco. Joshua Cheyenne, 48-foot walk-in humidor loaded with beautiful cigars. We have some of the commercials that are video. It shows you inside their walk-in humidor, and I see the brands, whether it's Ashton or it's La Fontana, which is a sneaky, quiet, really good brand. Rocky Patel, Romeo and Julieta, Arturo Fuente, Padron, Cohiba, all of them. The great brands of cigars around the world are there inside their 48-foot walk-in humidor. So if you like to smoke cigars, we got graduation. It's like in 3 months. Maybe you want to light one up or have it for somebody who graduates. That's there too. Fresh ground coffee beans. They'll have the beans for you if you want. They'll grind them for you as well, so you could take them home in a bag and enjoy them at home. Don Chumidor Coffee Beans, just off Valley Mills and Richland Drive in Waco.
whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
So we're back, 365 Sports. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. We will monitor, as we said just a minute ago, the Trinidad Chambliss decision when that comes down. I thought this was a neat note. Craig's off the radar is just around the corner.
Your hearing aids are causing some feedback here.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? When you get to be my age, that happens. Okay, hold on. This is from Bill Self on Darren Peterson. Remember the young man who missed the game against Arizona? They still won no matter what on Monday. Bill Self, this is from Matt Tate. He said he actually went on Twitter. Oh, Bill. If you hadn't been on much, you could have stayed off. But he said he's been on Twitter to read, or X, to read what is being said about Darren Peterson. And it's not remotely true, he said. Was his hamstring legit? Yes. Hell yes. Was his cramping legit? Yes. Positively. Did he turn his ankle bad? Yes, and that was adrenaline kicking in. The narrative is BS. That's from Bill Self, whose player has taken a beating because he's missed a lot of quality games and missed half of the games. And so that was Bill Self looking at some of the comments and responding to them today.
Yes, I was sent all those comments as they happened in real time, by the way. I got all of them sent to me by Amanda. And
well, wait a minute. What was her take on all this? Wasn't she a little bit anti-Darren Peterson?
No. She's like everybody else who just wants him to play and feels that like they paid this guy a lot of money. But also, yesterday she said that when she was going on Twitter, she didn't like the fact that the fan base was turning on the guy, and that's not really the time to do that. In that you don't know everything that you think you know, which I think is very true, in that you don't want, Darren Peterson to say, fine, I'll just leave, which he's not going to do because he's got so much money on the line. But yeah, it's not a good thing for the fan base to get mad at one player. And I think it was probably maybe a little bit overdue for Bill Self to say these things if that's the case. I think he probably waited 2 weeks too long. But the fan base has turned because they're playing the number one team in the country on Monday night, and 10 minutes before the game, their best player was like, I'm not doing it. And it was just kind of you saw Ari.
I wonder how many of those fans who say that, man, you got to be kind of careful here, had they lost that game and he didn't play.
Yeah. But they won it, and everything's fine, and he'll probably play Iowa State on Saturday, so we'll see. I mean, they upped his minutes the last two games before this one, and it looked like it was going well. But I get the feeling of the fans. Like, yes, it's two steps. It's one step forward, two steps back. But all that matters is get him to the tournament healthy, and then let him go for 6 games if you can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Darren Peterson really feels. I can believe both things are true. I think he could be taking advantage of the situation and maybe not as passionate as some people think, and also be very talented and capable of doing more than enough when he does play to make it worth it. So that's kind of where I am. Perhaps it's all just injuries, but man, what a rotten case of luck if that's the case. It's just kind of hard to believe that it's all just sort of happening as frequently as it is. But I don't care either way, honestly. So it's not my team. I'm not a Darren Peterson jersey wearer. So for Kansas fans, I'm sure it's incredibly frustrating. And for just basketball fans, you want to see the best play. So it's just very odd to see this situation. But, yeah, it's probably about time for Self to address it head on and to acknowledge it and let his side of the aisle be known, and so they're supporting their player. No surprise there, but I don't have any concerns for Darren Peterson. I mean, it's worked pretty well for Kansas so far, and at the next level, I mean, this is basically the schedule he'll have without having to even claim any injuries because those guys don't play hardly half the time anyways in some cases, and I'm probably overgeneralizing the NBA, but you know what? Nowadays, not by a lot. Talk about the guys getting paid the most for doing the least. That's the NBA now. It's a garbage regular season product if you're not doing the up-to-the-minute sports betting or if you're not just a hardcore hoop head. There's no reason for a casual fan to care at all about the NBA.
That was Andrew's poll question earlier.
There's no reason to care. And as somebody who...
About you watch college basketball more than you would watch the NBA, and I bet it's going to be a huge number, yes.
Well, I would think so for a college sports show. Yeah, we'll probably lean more in that direction. But I think in general, the bloom is off the rose of the NBA where, no, look how much money we're making. Look at these TV deals. And then people are like, okay, that's great, but like the actual product sucks. And you've got Bill Simmons, who's name a bigger NBA fan out there. Or, okay, name a bigger Celtics fan. You can't. But, I mean, he is also an NBA fan. You've got him coming out on his critically acclaimed podcast talking about, yeah, the regular season sucks now. These guys are tanking or they're not trying or they're just sitting out for the sake of sitting out. So from that standpoint, that's a completely separate topic. But Darren Peterson will have no concerns at the next level. He can just sit out half the time and nobody will notice because that's what like a bunch of the stars in the league do already at this point. But in college, it is kind of jarring of like, gosh, is this guy just got so many ticky-tack injuries or is there something more at play here? So glad that Self at least talked about it a little bit and tried to shed some light.
He has a KU logo next to his name in the chat room, Dirk93. The kid is probably dealing with sickness and injury, probably isn't going to risk long-term injury either with his hamstring due to the NBA career. Frustrating. Sure. But understandable.
Yeah, I mean, it could be just as simple as like it is exactly as described, and it's just unfortunate. But thankfully, he's not out, and he's able to play, especially when you need him most. And even when you don't have him available, like the other night, you're still fully talented and capable enough to beat a really, really good team. So either way, Kansas is looking a lot better than when we were talking about them a couple months back, and they are very much in the mix. And if Darren Peterson can find some health, especially for the tournament run, then they're going to be one of those teams, and certainly he'll be one of those players to watch. But yeah, it sucks that you're robbed of watching him play more if you're a Kansas fan and seeing like the peak product. But at the same time, like if he's got injuries, he's got injuries.
I think that if they can get there with him healthy and he plays every game in the tournament, this is going to look like a lot like that first UConn run where the beginning of the season wasn't great. They got healthy, they got better, and then they could go because he has a team full of Bill Self players and a Darren Peterson. Mm-hmm. So when you have that, that's a title-capable team. Now, if they don't have Darren Peterson, they can certainly make the Sweet 16, and we'll see what happens because you can see that they're gritty. They're a tough bunch, that they don't give up. But if they have Darren Peterson, then it's a whole different thing. Also, selfishly, 9 days from today, I'll be there on Big Monday watching, and I want to see damn Darren Peterson play.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So I would like to, when I go to Allen Fieldhouse this year, see Darren Peterson play. So, Darren, please, whatever is going on with you, get it fixed by the 21st.
There's a tweet, DNP for Darren Peterson has to be the funniest nicknames I've heard on in a minute. DNP for did not play. So there we are with that. All right, so Craig Smoak and Off the Radar. This is 365 Sports.
Going just straight into it?
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Well, here we are, and I guess time for some off the radar. And, a few things to talk about, but not as juicy of a Thursday news-wise as I was hoping for. I will rewind back a little bit just to make mention of the Super Bowl rating, because I always mention the big sporting event ratings, and right now we got the Olympics going on. I won't touch so much on that unless there's something really just kind of like, wow, I can't believe that ice skating pulled that number. But the NFL, I think, still feeling pretty good about things, regardless of how some angles of the media try to portray success or lack thereof. However you measure success, 124.93 million viewers sounds pretty successful to me. That was the number for Super Bowl 60, a 39.4 rating, 124.93 million viewers across NBC, Peacock, and Telemundo. Now, part of the reason why you're seeing, obviously politically, there's reasons why people are trying to poke holes in like the halftime show and things like that, but also using the fact that it was down viewership-wise, which it was, 6% in ratings, 2% in viewership from last year, Eagles and Chiefs, which was on Fox, Tubi, and Fox Deportes. First Super Bowl to post a decline in viewership since 2021. So not that long ago. I always get like revved up for since 37 years ago? It's like since 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, this is their first playoff appearance since 2023.
Yeah, it's like
that.
okay, great. It's so 3 years ago. Wow, incredible. So, I mean, it was the first Super Bowl to post a decline in 5 years, and that, of course, was right at the height of COVID and everything that was happening back then. So the thing that sucks about talking about TV ratings now, just in general, because I present them. I don't have like an opinion on this is good, this is bad. I guess I do. My opinion on it is even if it was down, even if a specific part of the game was down, your argument is not that compelling that it's like some ring the alarm bells. Like I saw Clay Travis put a tweet up yesterday like indicating that the NFL was in trouble because the drop-off from like the start of halftime to like by the end of it was like a 10% loss, and there was like several million people that did not watch halftime that dropped off the map. But then you turn around and you say 124 million people watched this, so it's like, okay,
They
so
can
it
have
wasn't.
that. Yeah, they're not going
So it wasn't 130. Okay, I'll take 124 million. But there was a bit of a drop off, and I think you can point to the fact there was an alternative halftime show. So you had that for a reason. So obviously, several million people went over to that. But yeah, 124.93. The gist of this was the final number there. And, man, that's a lot of people watching Super Bowl Sunday. Not the biggest number, a drop-off, like I said, but that's just – I don't care about all the things I'm kind of directing towards. That's a giant number of people watching this football game every year, and it's incredible what the NFL has turned Super Bowl into, where it's just regularly posting hundreds of millions of viewers.
Yeah, a lot of people turned off a halftime show I thoroughly enjoyed. But, I mean, it's their prerogative to do it. I mean, like, you don't want to watch it, you don't want to watch it. Like, I don't even care why. Like, if you don't watch the halftime show, it doesn't really matter to me why you don't. Just, and then let's also mention that the game was really boring. So they probably lost a ton of casuals at the halftime point. So, like, okay, we're at the Super Bowl party, the game's no good, or whatever, or we're watching the Super Bowl, we're only casual fans, we can watch all the commercials online, we watched half the halftime show, we don't speak Spanish, we're out. Like, we're just going to go to bed. That's it, we're done. So it doesn't surprise me. So, again, 124 million people, the NFL's not holding a meeting going, oh, God, guys, what are we doing?
I think they have to, like, okay, we need to at least see if we could react to this. If there's going to be 20 million or so people that watch something else, they got to – but, listen, they could watch grass grow in a preseason game in Europe and get a bunch.
I don't have any opinion. I guess I do have an opinion. Like, I'm like you. Like, watch whatever you want to watch. I didn't care for all of the politically charged talks about the halftime show. I just stayed away from that, because it doesn't interest me, and the culture wars just don't interest me. But I did find that Clay Travis tweet funny, just because I listen to anything and everything, and I'll give anything and everything a bit of weight to it. And I don't care where it comes from. I'll at least acknowledge it and then decide for myself ultimately. But when I saw that trying to spin 124 million people like it was some like, oh, the NFL's got to like spare, dude. I get that's your thing, man, but like, come on, dude. Like, we're not all stupid. 124 million people was the final number there. We'll move on. Ranks as the second most watched Super Bowl, second most watched program in U.S. television history. So again, I don't think the NFL's clutching its pearls too much now. They probably will acknowledge that and go, okay, it's like, so is that something that we do need to be concerned about moving forward? Do we need to go back to English language performers or whatever? I'm sure they'll have those conversations, and I don't really care.
I think that there's only one Bad Bunny. Like,
Right.
There's only one of that, and he's the most popular artist in the world right now.
Right.
So it's not like they're going to find another guy that's that popular.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about it that I try to explain to my relatives because they immediately want to start getting like political. Like, oh, and I was just like, guys, I'll just tell you this. This is the true story about the halftime show. It's not this side or that side. The NFL has tapped out the American market, and they want to make more money. So that is why we are seeing more games overseas, and we are seeing international performers to appeal to the Latin market because it's thriving and growing, and it's massive. And that's why why is the schedule the way that it is? Why is the national championship game played on Monday? Why is this way? It's all the same answer, and it's money. And so that's why Bad Bunny, as much as anything, was the halftime performer. But there was the numbers, 124 million for the Super Bowl. So, view that however you want to. But I do think it was one of the most boring games I've ever watched as far as a Super Bowl goes. And I think that probably could not help matters very much.
I didn't watch much of halftime of either, whatever. But someone said to me the other day, they said, well, what about you couldn't understand him? I said, well, I'm more about the rhythm and all that. I can't understand what's the guy's name, Botticelli, when he's doing opera, but it's still something that, for me, that sometimes can be a piece about it, and I like to listen to it at times, even if it's for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
but
it made no difference to me.
No,
I mean, it didn't change my viewing. I'm not a big halftime guy to begin with, so whether it was Whitney Houston singing the national anthem, that's separate, but like whether it was Snoop Dogg,
Michael Jackson,
the LA best of Death Row back in the day, or it's Michael Jackson, or it's the Rolling Stones, or whoever we've had. I don't care
or
ever,
Janet
quite
Jackson's
frankly.
Boo. Yep.
So this was all just very interesting to me to kind of see this turn into like this massive thing. But I always mention the ratings for the big events, so there you go. And I just found it funny that we're trying to like downplay the second most watched Super Bowl ever as though the NFL is suddenly going to be like clutching their pearls. That's obviously not going to happen. Meanwhile, some other news that's out there, the NCAA has denied the appeal that's coming down just a few hours ago of former Michigan football staff member Connor Stalions and the 8-year show cause penalty he received for his involvement, this according to Adam Rittenberg, in the Wolverines' signal stealing case. Stalions in his appeal cited 6 factors that classify the violations as level 1 aggravated, did not elaborate in arguing against them according to the appeals court in its ruling. The denial stemmed from Stalions failing to show that there was no information in the case record to support the infraction committee's decision and prescribed penalties. In his appeal, Stalions contended he was never allowed to test the credibility of the confidential sources whose info contributed to the case against him, and that info that the NCAA staff shared with the Big Ten irreparably prejudiced Mr. Stalions and negatively influenced the NCAA's subsequent investigation of this case. So he was found to be at the center of collecting cell phones and videos and signals and all of that back in 21, 22, and 23. And the appeals committee just basically said, we don't see that you have any argument here, so your show cause stands. And so, yeah, his appeal has been denied in that regard. And I don't keep tabs on him. I know I started to see his name pop up more during the season because he's doing is he doing a podcast or he's at least out there vocally.
Yeah.
So I see him come across my timeline sometimes. I've made it very clear I'm not the biggest fan in the world, but regardless of any of that, he is not going to have his appeal overturned as far as the show cause goes. So gonna have to wait a little while to get back in the college game if that ever occurs.
I wonder how valuable he is if he can't steal signs.
That's a great question, actually.
Because
it's
he
part
was,
of his appeal.
Here was the thing. He was really good at it, and he had really thought-out methods. I'm choking to death.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what's going on. But, yeah, go away from me for a second. But yeah, he was really good at that.
It does. I'll do this, and I know you're doing other stories. Is that it does? The judge is still reading and talking about the Chambliss decision. He has not ruled final, but does say that he thinks the NCAA, in certain ways, probably it seems like at least leaning right now that they probably did this guy a bad deal.
Their attorneys apparently left the room.
Yeah.
So
that always helps, right? When you piss off the judge. Go ahead, Craig.
So any thoughts on Connor Stallions, or we just want to talk about the case going on?
No, I mean, again, he has value as a sign stealer, but now everybody's kind of onto him.
Yeah.
Yet no other team is going to Central Michigan this thing and let him come on the sideline with his Ray-Ban Metas on and record everything. So, yeah, I don't.
I'd forgotten about him.
Yeah, I don't know what he's. I mean, maybe he's a good coach in another regard, but this is clearly the thing he was doing for them. Because it's not like he was the offensive coordinator or the linebackers coach or something. He was an assistant who was doing all that. So
anyways, he will not have his show cause overturned, and I'll go ahead and leave it there for now. There's a few things off the radar.
One other note from the court, Judge Whitwell ripping the NCAA for Chambliss having no voice in the process because the school has to file waiver requests, not him. A significant thing. He's not the first judge to attack the NCAA for that. And I doubt he will be the last. That's from Sam Ehrlich, who's there covering the trial of Mississippi quarterback, at least maybe again, in Trinidad Chambliss. Thank you, Craig. When we come back, we brought up the Pac-12 schedule, that flex week, and what are they doing? We'll have John Wilner help us out with that, plus some more notes and news and all that. This is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Bob Mock with 5 locations here in the Waco area. It is the fastest growing pizza brand in America. What does that mean? Well, it means it's the fastest growing pizza brand in America. And Marco's Pizza, the pizza's great. The salads and chicken wings and sandwiches and more. And if you go to marcos.com, you can go online, order something on your way home, pick it up, or they'll deliver it to you as well. But there's always special. Sometimes it might be Cinnatoast or whatever it might be with cinnamon flavored toast. That simple as that. But 5 locations in Waco with the fastest growing pizza brand in America, one near you at marcos.com.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
The time is now. It's time for a new ride at the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr, GMC Buick Cadillac.
Sierra blends the premium interior with the muscle of a true work truck, built to handle the job and look good doing it. It's why GMC Sierra is the best truck on the road. During our New Year New Ride sales event, qualified buyers can save $13,000 on a Sierra. Drive one home today for just $41,390.
Call now, get here now, or log on now for the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
This is 365 Sports.
Here we go, this 5 o'clock hour, awaiting John Wilner from the Wilner Hotline on the Pac-12 releasing their unique schedule with the flex week at the end and get that feedback from him. While we're doing that, the NFL Combine around the corner. The most schools, or the most per school, headed to the Combine. Not a surprise. You could name them off. I could ask you to name the top 10. You'd get probably 8 of them. In fact, let's do that. You guys have both probably seen it. A&M has the most, by the way. I'll give you that at 13.
Indiana.
They have 9. And they're in a clump like 7 through 10.
Miami.
Miami is 10.
Okay, Ohio State.
Yes, they have 11.
Alabama.
They have 12.
LSU.
They have 11.
Georgia.
They have 10.
Ole Miss.
Yeah, you're being an out. No, whoa. I do not see Ole
Texas
Miss.
Tech.
Unless Trinidad Chambliss jumps them into that. Texas Tech. Texas Tech has 8.
The way it's sounding, Trinidad Chambliss is going to get another year.
I think it sounds based on the judge, yeah.
So the Ole Miss judge, the Ole Miss graduated judge, yeah, that's not at all part of the problem with all of these rulings, the home field advantage. But yeah, that's an easy list of teams to start rattling off. And Texas Tech, not normally in that list, but I'd imagine they're going to be in that mix pretty much every year from here on out. So yeah, I think they'll have a record draft class, and only makes sense with what they invested.
Kentucky has 6. They're among the top 15 or 20, and Texas Tech is the highest that you would normally not see there. And, of course, things are changing, and they will be. We're now joined by John Wilner, the Wilner Hotline on 365 Sports with Paul Craig and also David Smoak. John, great to have you. It's been a long, long time. Hope you've been doing well. Kind of give us your feedback with the Pac-12 released their schedule. It's got unique with it because of that flex week. What's been the reaction?
I think a lot of the Pac-12 fans are pretty excited. For everyone else, they're trying to figure out exactly what it means because it is different. They only have 8 football playing schools. And so you have a round robin, a true round robin. That leaves you with 7 conference games and 5 non-conference spots. And they could have gone out and tried to schedule other teams, but instead they decided to keep everything in-house. So there will be some teams that play each other twice, and one of those games will be a non-conference game, kind of like Arizona, Kansas State played a non-conference game the last 2 years. Pac-12, so the last week will be a non-conference week, even though they're playing each other. The 4 home teams are set, but they can mix and match the road teams based on pretty much getting their best team into the CFP. So in a way, I think it's a pretty smart move. They will have 3 weeks of CFP data and rankings from which they can evaluate, what their best team, where their best team stands, and also what they need to do. If they need to improve schedule strength, they could use the flex to get a stronger opponent for that team. So it's all designed on getting somebody into the CFP.
Do you think that this could blow up in their face committee-wise because it looks like they're trying to rig the game?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how the committee would look down on it, given what the other options are, right? The other options were probably to play an FCS opponent or to try to find somebody from, the Sun Belt or the MAC or Conference USA to fill in that final spot. I don't envision that happening, but you never know with the committee. They do stuff that we don't expect every week.
Yeah, and also, how is the Pac-12 viewed to begin with, right, John? I don't think they're getting, the benefit of the doubt very often. But I guess maybe, to Paul's point of, if you're Boise State and you're in line that final weekend to get into the playoffs so long as you win, but you decide because of that you give them the least opponent, does the committee look at that when Alabama's playing Auburn differently? I don't know. I guess that's kind of where Paul and our heads are at, but I guess that may not make much sense. But
you mean if they purposely dumb down the flex game?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess possibly. I would kind of think that wouldn't happen because for that very reason. I think that they would only use it because there's already games scheduled, right? They have 4 home teams and 4 road teams, and the flex is an option for them. It's not like the schedule is completely blank. Mm-hmm. So my sense is that they would only flex somebody into a different game if they felt like upgrading the schedule strength would be a benefit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I like the fact that, the NFL has a flex schedule. When I saw that, I was like, okay, this is kind of unique. And do you think any other conferences would ever go to this if it works?
No, I think if it works, you'll see them all do it. At least at the group of 6 level. Everybody is desperate to get into the playoff. And if somebody sees someone taking a unique approach that works, then I absolutely think it'll be copycatted. There's no doubt. And, the Pac-12's only set this up for 1 year because they may try to add another school in 2027, and also because the playoff could change in 2027. And they want to be able to adjust their schedule with a changing playoff format if it comes to that in 27.
By the way, Craig did put this note in front of me that the flex schedule with the NFL is not changing the opponents, but the start times of the days in which they play.
Yeah, but the NFL has didn't the Niners and the Seahawks, I think, played 2 games in a row or something? Basically for Seattle, they played the last regular season game against San Francisco, and then their first playoff game was against the Niners. So I don't actually think that playing the team in your conference twice is that big a deal. The other thing that they would use the flex schedule for is to avoid, let's say, Boise State and Utah State are supposed to play in the conference championship, but they're also down to play the flex week. They would move that game so that you didn't have a duplicate matchup 2 weeks in a row.
That makes it all make a lot more sense. Because, it's kind of hard reading it initially, even though you did a good job describing it. But those were kind of the questions that I had. Is how does that work if you're going to play? And do you kind of try to rig it to get an easier pathway? But that's why we had you on, John, is to help lay this out and explain it for us simpletons here.
Well, the conference did a pretty good job. They sent out an information sheet last night with the schedule, and they actually explained it pretty well. It's, for the most part, it's fairly traditional. The first 4 weeks are non-conference, and then you've got 8 weeks for 7 conference games and 1 bye, and then you've got week 13, which for everybody else will be rivalry week, but for the Pac-12 it will be the flex week.
John, how long do you think that they ride with just 8 teams and keep having to do this? Is this a 2-3 year thing they're going to have to do?
I think that they would go, if they could find a team that met their qualifications for 2027, they would expand in the next year they would like to have 9 football teams. So you have an 8-game round robin and 10 basketball teams. So you could have, an 18-game round robin. So if they could add a school for all sports and it's the right school, I think that they would do it as soon as they can, for sure. If they have to keep going like this for a couple of years, they probably will. I think that they view it as not, they don't want to get desperate and just take a school to take a school, but that's a pretty fine line, because the quantity matters for scheduling and other reasons.
So the North Dakota State story in the Mountain West Conference, how much did that register in the Pac-12?
I don't think it registered that much. I mean, there's a lot of fans out here that are like, well, why didn't the Pac-12 take them? But I didn't get the sense the Pac-12 was ever that close to taking an FCS school. I also wonder, the timing of that is a little bit interesting, right? It happened, they took North Dakota State after the media rights deal. Usually it happens before the media rights deal. It made me wonder if the schools weren't getting enough cash, so they decided to take North Dakota State and charge them $12 million to get into the Mountain West. But I don't think the Pac-12 ever seriously considered North Dakota State for a bunch of reasons. Now, that could prove to have been a mistake. If North Dakota State, does what James Madison has done, then the Pac-12 may have swung and missed there. But we'll see. I think it'll take a few years before we really know. And we certainly don't know when North Dakota State's going to be eligible for a bowl game or the CFP. That's also got to get decided.
John Wilner, the Wilner Hotline, with us on 365 Sports.
So, John, you are now in the throes of another Big 12 basketball season. You cover, the Big 12 now as well. Arizona just took their first loss. Thoughts on this just absolute hammer of a top of the league?
Yeah, it really is. And I actually published an article on this on the schedule today. It's worked out perfectly for the Big 12 because the 6 teams that were in the AP preseason poll are all still in the poll. So when they lined up that big Monday lineup of, it's 4 or 5 weeks in a row of incredible big Monday games, and that was all based on what the Big 12 thought was going to happen, in September, and it has come to fruition, and all those teams are still ranked. So in that way, it could not have worked out better for the conference. I think Arizona needed a loss. I think going into the NCAA tournament undefeated is a recipe for a second-round defeat. So to me, it was a great game. They needed a loss. They may get another loss or two here. Their schedule is very difficult. I think the top of the Big 12 is just phenomenal. We'll see how the middle holds up. I'm very curious about, the TCUs, the UCFs. Can the Big 12 get down into that 8-9 bid range? Right now you look at it and you see 6 or 7, and then you got the Big 10 and the SEC with 10 or 11. So I'm curious about the depth. But the top of the Big 12 is there's nothing like it in college basketball right now.
So I know you've written and you wrote recently on Your Mark and like the TV windows and kind of how the Big 12's trying to be proactive and creative and get as much exposure as they possibly can. They had the announcement yesterday about the glass floor they're going to use for the tournament. Just kind of, having soaked in like just the Your Mark comings and goings and moves and the conference as it has been now for almost a couple of years. Your thoughts on just where the Big 12 kind of sits in this moment, John, knowing that there's so much still around the corner and awaiting, but just how do you sort of view the league and where it is at the moment and looking towards the future?
Well, I think that the best thing the Big 12's got going for it is that it knows what it is, right? It knows where it sits in the hierarchy. It knows what its schools need. And, Your Mark does a good job trying to provide that. I do think that the Big 12 really needs to win a CFP game next year. To me, your champion getting blown out by the number 5 seed in the quarterfinals was a bad look, especially on top of not winning a game in 2024 in the CFP. Because the Big 12 is going to be at risk, especially if you compare to the ACC, right? Miami almost won the national title. You can see a little bit of a divergence between the Big 12 and the ACC right now, competitively in football. And the Big 12 can't lose, it needs to stay tethered to the ACC competitively, right? So that people view both of those conferences together on the next tier below the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC. The Big 12 can't get itself in position where it's looked on as being below the ACC. And that's kind of problematic because the ACC, if you think about it, it's got bigger, better football brands between Miami and Florida State and Clemson. You know, although some of them have struggled recently, you know, those are brands that the Big 12 can't match. And so they really need to make sure that whoever wins the conference next year, they got to win a CFP game or two.
Yeah, Arizona State had that semifinals loss where they were a play away, or
fourth
quarterfinals
down.
loss against Texas, which would have been a big, nice little notch in their belt. And of course, Tech, the offense had no chance against Oregon. So yeah, they've got to get deep. Not just teams in it; they got to do something about it when they're there.
They do. They absolutely do. They are the only Power 4 conference that hasn't won a CFP game since it went to 12 teams, and they need to try to, you know, end that stigma, eliminate that stigma next year. And next year could be the last year of the 12. We don't know. I think that, you know, my guess is that the Big 12 would welcome a 16-team playoff in 2027, but beyond that, it'll be real interesting to see how the whole thing shakes out at the, you know, with the future format and the automatic bids and how are they going to divide the qualification process.
John, they do need to get better. Like it's weird to say this, they got to get better at the top, like more elite at the top, because that's the ACC after the top is a steep. I mean, it's just a big mess in the middle. But But yeah, if you're good at the top, like they have Miami, they have that. Like as long as you're good at the top, that's what you can kind of maybe ward off some of the other stuff, can't you?
Absolutely. I mean, the ACC had Clemson all those years. The rest of the league wasn't any good. But if you got a team playing for the title, that solves a lot of problems.
I mentioned North Dakota State and the Mountain West. How does the Pac-12 view the Mountain West? Is there a little bit of a look down the nose at them, or is there any, not remorse, that's too harsh of a word, that maybe they could have made that work better?
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody involved with the Pac-12 thinks they could have made it work. And so remorse is not, I don't think that's part of their vocabulary these days. They look at the Mountain West as a competitor, but I think that if you gave them a shot of sodium pentothal, they'd probably say, yeah, we're superior. And they would say, we got a better TV deal. They'd say, we got Boise State in football and we got Gonzaga in basketball. And they'd say, we're a stronger league. And it's hard to argue with that if you just based on, recent history performances of the schools. But, that can change. And we'll see. A lot of it's going to depend on how many schools in each of the two conferences are willing to fund their football operations fully with rev share and NIL. We'll see after a year or two. But I think right now the Pac-12 would say, yeah, we're superior. And the reverse merger that a lot of people thought should happen with Washington State and Oregon State becoming part of the Mountain West, that was not going to happen. Washington State and Oregon State didn't want to do that. And the other thing is, Boise and San Diego State, they wanted to, like everybody else in realignment, they wanted to leave behind the bottom half of their conference, which we see all the time with this process. And that was their motivation for leaving for the Pac-12, was to leave the lower performing schools, the lower resource schools behind.
John, where were you during the Super Bowl week?
You know what? I didn't have anything to do with the Super Bowl. Even though the game was 20 minutes from my house, I did not have anything to do, and that was just fine with me. It was weird because it's really, two cities. It was like having the Super Bowl in two different places because all the media stuff, was up in San Francisco, all the events and all that, and then the teams and the practices are down here in the San Jose area. At least down here, you didn't really get the sense that the biggest sporting event in the world was going to take place.
Well, we talked about it during the week. While we were there, John, it felt like nobody in San Francisco was talking about the game because all the people who had to cover the actual game, the beat writers, had to just post up in San Jose and only could go really back to the media center when they had to be there for whatever other reason, because it's not a short drive.
No.
So they just were like, I'm not going to go back and forth in this traffic. I'll just post up in San Jose.
Yeah, yep. I mean, that's what you get when you do it in a place like this. And they want to have the San Francisco, San Francisco is a great city, and they want to have as much to do with that as they can. But the bottom line is the facility and the best practice facilities are down here. The teams, even if you wanted to put the teams up in the nicest hotels in San Francisco, the practice setup for them is much better down in San Jose, Santa Clara area.
We were in Daly City. That's where our Airbnb was, about 10 or 12 miles south of San Francisco and close. And we had the most spectacular view of the sunset in the bay. It was amazing. I thought they did a great job. One thing I want to say, John, is we were there, how long ago was it? 10 years ago, San Francisco? The airport, I've said this before, it is spectacular how wide, spacious, and clean it looks. Did they renovate that?
You're talking about SFO?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it depends what terminal you're in, but they've got one of the new terminals. It is absolutely fantastic.
God, that's the
I was
one
in
we were
it
in.
over the summer. Yeah, it's
Good.
great.
It's got like lounges nowhere. We were there a little bit early in the morning, obviously, but it doesn't mean that people weren't flying out. But yeah, Smokey and I's flight left at 7 a.m., but even 6 o'clock in the morning, when it starts to get, I didn't bump anybody. I didn't have to loop around somebody walking slow. I had a nice lounge area with a table in front of me by the gate. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, it's nice. You almost want your flight to get delayed. Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, buddy, good to see you again. Thanks for jumping on with us today.
All right, guys, thanks a lot.
John Wilner on the Pac-12 schedule release and some more information about the flex part of it. What does it mean? What can they do? And then also just to have him on today. It's been a while for John Wilner. Anything new in Trinidad Chambliss?
No.
Still going.
That guy's been talking a long time.
I was waiting for you to interrupt John Wilner so we could provide the random update from the judge. But no, I mean, he's going to get his extra year according to this judge. I don't know what the steps look like after that. But this judge is an Ole Miss guy, literally. And everything he's saying is that the NCAA acted in bad faith, which I don't even know what that means, so we'll need him to clarify that further. But yeah, Trinidad Chambliss, based on everything that's coming out from Ross Dellinger, is going to get another year. And so that's great news, obviously, for Ole Miss and Pete Golding and company. Not good news for those who want some semblance of a system that makes sense. But Ole Miss people can argue, well, the system doesn't make sense. That's why he should have had a year, and we're even having to have this fight. But it's just goofy that you don't get your way, you go get a favorable judge in a favorable court, and you go there and you get your way, and then the world keeps spinning on its axis, and we get no real progress going anywhere as far as college football rules go. Not that this would have solved every issue by any means, but it's just there's no real sanity to any of it. It's literally what school do you go to, and where is that judge? Can you get in front of a judge that's going to give you a favorable ruling? And then, okay, now what does the NCAA do to maybe take this back the other direction? I guess we'll see. But Ross was mentioning that the NCAA lawyers, I guess, saw the writing on the wall. They left. They left before this whole process was even over.
He's threatened them with contempt.
He did.
They just said, screw it, we're out of here, because they already know what's going on. But this judge is an Ole Miss guy. So from the moment that was well known, that there's a lot of people crying foul for that. But that's the legal system. So looks like that favorable draw, if you will, is going to work out favorably for Ole Miss, and then we'll see how the NCAA responds, and then there will be another version of this with some other player somewhere where the NCAA probably says, no, you can't do that, and they'll go get a North Carolina alumni judge to say that they can, and it just goes on and on and on. And that is the core problem of this entire system, is that everybody answers to different people on every single thing. It's literally what judge you're in front of and what state you're in, and that versus we all play by the same rules. It's no, in Mississippi they will judge differently than they might do it in Oregon or what have you. And I think that's what a lot of people have pointed out as being one of the biggest issues. And without some sort of broad rules across the board that everybody would actually adhere to, which they don't to begin with, then that's going to continue to be the case, where you're just going to try to get the right judge in the right town and get the right ruling for yourself. And so that's what Ole Miss is going to get out of this whole deal.
One final quote from the judge. The NCAA breached its duty of good faith and acted in bad faith. So that's where that thing is going.
It says nothing.
Yeah.
45 minutes in,
Yeah.
and everybody
Yeah.
knows what he's going to do.
Yeah.
He is taking his time.
He's running for office.
He is, look, he's like, you ever watch like a sommelier, like before they taste the wine, all the different things they do to it? This is what he's doing. He's just swirling the wine. He's sniffing it. He's talking about how there's notes of cinnamon and cherry wood and all that other stuff. Like, just tell me what it tastes like. Is it good or bad wine? Stop. Just go. Tell me he's in.
Brandon, can you do a wide shot of the set? Look what we got, Craig. We saw this yesterday. I know it's been going, but the LED lights that we have that we kind of started to play with a little bit yesterday after we went off the air. So we love that. Thank you, Brandon Rowe. Thanks to Logan Bagesi, Garrett Ross, and also Andrew Valade, who's been watching hockey on this, whatever. That's a massive screen he has in the other room. For Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, thank you to our sponsors and those of you who watch us every day, or when you do. Good night on 365 Sports.